Your energy bill sinks as low as it can go, and your AC will avoid any premature breakdown. Not to mention, although I am, the incredible savings Window Nation is offering right now. With every 2 windows purchased, you'll get 2 free windows. Plus, you'll put 0 down and make 0 payments with 0% interest for 24 months. That could be up to thousands more in savings. So maintain your chill, lower your bill, and get your home filled with new Window Nation windows. Buy 2, get 2 free, and pay nothing for 2 years. Call 866-90NATION or visit them online at windownation.com. Don't miss out. 866-90NATION or go to windownation.com and tell them SSJ sent you.
Sports Radio 810 WHB, America's largest all-sports radio station.
We are hanging out here in Lake Tahoe. It is the American Century Championship. Joining us now, someone who will be participating, not commentating on it, is Joe Buck.
You know, he said, I've been told, this is Roger talking, by medical people that if Damar Hamlin walked into an emergency room, it may not have gone as well as it did.
Your hometown radio station, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
If you've been dreaming of a new outdoor living area for your family to enjoy all year long, Summit Lawn and Landscape can help you design and build it. Paved and stone patios, outdoor kitchens, fire pits, outdoor fireplaces, landscape lighting, and retaining walls. Extend the comfort of your home outside with a new inviting and relaxing addition to your home. Sit by a fire, relax under the stars. Whatever you envision, Summit Lawn and Landscape can help. Call Summit Lawn and Landscape at 816-966-9434 or summitlawn.com.
At Central Bank, we know every journey and spark of inspiration has a starting point. It's practice, persistence, and the support of an entire community. As a proud community banking partner of Sporting KC, Central Bank is there for every step of the journey because we believe the dreams we pursue together have the greatest impact. And with Sporting Checking and the official Sporting Debit Card, you can be the inspiration. Visit sportingchecking.com or stop by the nearest Central Bank branch to get started. Member FDIC.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is your home for the Major League Baseball playoffs and World Series, NBA playoffs and finals, NHL Stanley Cup, college football playoffs and national championship, NFL Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night football, the NFL playoffs, and the Super Bowl. Only on your locally owned, locally operated hometown radio station. Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I think there's Denny. Yeah, there's Denny's with diners.
Yeah, I looked up Nathaniel Hackett, and it said he was a head coach in the NFL. I don't think he was.
Well, you'd be wrong. So he was. I mean,
no,
he was.
I don't think he qualified as a head coach. I think he was pretty bad at his job. So Denny's.
Well, yeah, but you're still a radio host.
Okay. Yes, but it's still bad at my job.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco and Drake. We head up until 2 o'clock. The next 4 hours, we've got you. Boy, a lot of stuff to get into and talk about today. A number of things that we will discuss, including some Major League Baseball, some NFL football, some college football along the way. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810 text line if you want to be part of the show, part of the conversation today. We will talk with Ari Timken coming up at 11 o'clock. Sirius XM College Sports, and does a great job covering the Big 12 and some other things around the college game. So we'll get his thoughts on the Big 12 Media Days last week, looking ahead into this season. SEC Media Days starting today, roughly 3 o'clock or so. Eli Drinkwitz will be at the podium for SEC Media Days being hosted in Nashville for, I believe this is the first time ever it's been hosted in Nashville. Typically it's in Alabama because that's where the SEC is. But in Nashville, so Eli Drinkwitz and company going this afternoon as SEC Media Days kicks off today for 4 days. a 4-day extravaganza in SEC Media Days. I'm going to guess here, I have not seen the number, but roughly 5,000 people credentialed for SEC Media Days, and I would guess roughly 4,500 of them are from fan sites that are credentialed for SEC Media Days. So we'll see these next 4 days. But some college football on the docket. Ari Timken coming up at 11 o'clock. And then coming up at noon, Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way podcast, KC Sports Network. We'll get his thoughts on so far this second half of the season, all 3 games they have played. A lot of takeaways, a lot of stuff to get into and talk about. But no, we'll get his thoughts on the most disappointing part of the first half of the season, which, take your pick.
There might have been more joy in these 3 games than we had seen in the first half of the season. At least some sparks of hope.
It's a reset button. That's what it was, a reset button. You know, if they would just play the Rays every game, they would be pacing for 70 wins.
Just like you drew it up.
3-4 against the Rays this year. I mean, just play the Rays every game. You win 70. I don't see how or why people are talking about how great of a team this is.
Clearly, the Royals are as great, if not a greater team.
I mean,
just transitive property.
They're right there with the Rays. They're a couple of runs here or there away from being above 500 against the Rays. So to me, that just says they're a better organization overall, really. And then coming up at 1 o'clock, Mick Schaefer, KSHP 41 Sports Director, Learn Funniest Best. All that still to come over the next 4 hours. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. Josh, it's good to see you in person.
Yeah, it's good to see you again, Jason. I've been hearing plenty of your voice, but not seeing enough of your face.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's the best way to do it.
It really is.
Be heard, not seen.
It's an audio medium for a reason.
Yeah, well, other reasons too. But good to be back. I'm lying. That's not true.
Hey, man, it's only kind of like 90 degrees and muggy today. Is that not what you wanted?
True at all. But no, it is nice to be back in studio after the week in Tahoe, the long days, the sitting out in the sun all day. You know, it's
tough.
It's about time to just come and hang out in a studio and talk directly to you.
I'm glad you've powered through that incredibly tough week that you had, and I'm really excited that we're going to get to be in the studio together for, days, if not weeks, if not months to come.
That's right. Or hours. Either way.
Hours? Oh, okay. Well,
Either way.
We'll enjoy this while we have it.
Yes, I was able to finish the quarterback series on Netflix over the weekend. I only got through 3 episodes when I was there in Tahoe. So, I think on Thursday, I'm like, I've watched the first 3 episodes. Then Thursday night and on into Friday, and Friday night, I'm like, I've watched the first 3 episodes. So finally able to finish it over the weekend while watching some Royals, while watching the American Century Championship golf tournament go on Saturday and Sunday, paying attention to our little fantasy golf draft points and who gets the extra point in the Royal ZOU.
Ooh, okay. The way that you've said that as if we did agree on those terms makes me think that you may have fared pretty well.
Oh, I didn't know. Didn't we? I thought that's really what we were
I suggested those terms. I don't know if they were adopted. I don't know if we needed Mick to jump in on that.
Yeah, no, we adopted them.
Okay, I'm good with it.
We definitely adopted those
rules.
Rules.
Congratulations on the point.
Definitely adopted those rules, really. I think what we agreed to was that Drake included, even though he didn't play, and then you and Mick and me, whoever won, the other 3 had to pay $100 to.
I don't think that's what it was, but it does sound like you had a good draft.
200 maybe?
I don't think that was right.
What do you think it was?
I'm trying to get my my results open again here before I tell you what I think it was. I think it was a handshake and a job well done.
A pat on the back?
I think it was speaking of Pat, I think I had him, and I think now it's a pat on the back.
It was just, you know what? It was looking at you, and it was just a tip of the cap.
Yeah.
You know what? Well done, sir. Nice job. Congrats to whoever won.
Whoever it could have been.
Whoever it could have been. That could have won. But we'll go through some of those when Mick is in coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. 913-912-4810. Let's start with the Chiefs. The rookies and Patrick Mahomes show up tomorrow. They're in St. Joe. He might be there already. I don't know. Maybe he's just sleeping right now. I would guess he's sleeping right now, catching up on what no doubt was a lack of sleep from Wednesday to last night. Because Wednesday night, we know he was enjoying himself after the ESPYs, because he talked about it on Thursday morning about not being able to keep up with Trav anymore. Thursday, we know he was enjoying himself at the celebrity karaoke and then afterwards at the high limit room. Friday night, he was enjoying himself on into Saturday, and then on Sunday, while playing 4 straight days and round of golf, 18 holes, walking, no cart, walking the 18 holes, because that's much more difficult, believe me. Anybody that's played knows it's much more difficult, but 4 days in a row of playing that. I think the rest will go, and on the 5th day he rested. I'm not sure. So that'll be going on today, but he'll be in St. Joe tomorrow. We'll have some coverage of that. We'll have some press conferences that we'll be listening into tomorrow in the 1 o'clock hour at some point, when the rookies and Patrick Mahomes showing up there. And then the veterans, and then whoever else. It's open for whichever veterans want to show up as well. They're required to be there on the 22nd at the latest before you start getting fined. But you can show up anywhere from the 18th through the 21st if you want to do that. Patrick Mahomes is going to do that tomorrow. I think it's rookies and quarterbacks, right? So the quarterbacks are going to be there regardless. But then whoever else wants to show up too. But we'll have that covered for you tomorrow. And then on into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the weekend. I think the first availability, sort of everybody there in St. Joe under the tent, that will become a very common view. I think Andy Reid's first one is Sunday.
That's the first open to the fans as well. $5 admission fee on Sunday, just FYI.
Right. So it's here, man. It is here. We will be seeing them showing up tomorrow. And over the weekend, we'll see everybody else showing up. Can't wait to see what Anthony Sherman is going to do with his appearance. That's going to be a lot of fun. What's he going to wear this year?
Do you think he'll wear something special for the Border Patrol?
God,
I feel like he should. It's just the time of year, even if you're not playing football.
You're right. He really has to. On Thursday.
Yeah.
This is a call to Anthony Sherman right now. On Thursday, you got to show up in something special with the Border Patrol, just to keep it. Just so we all know that it's that time of the year.
It's like Groundhog Day.
That's right.
But for whatever Anthony Sherman is wearing.
That's exactly right. It's Sausage Day.
It's Sausage Day. Even if, I say this hesitantly, but I think I stand by it. Even if he just unvaults an outfit from the past. Even if this is just,
right.
I'm bringing one out of the rafters, out of retirement, to wear into the studio today. That would be enough for me to know that, oh yeah, training camp really is here. Otherwise, I'm just not sure. It's Sunday, tomorrow. What day is it? What time is it? Good morning, good afternoon.
The bell rang. The horn blew.
The horn blew.
The horn blew. What's that mean? The horn blew. Good morning, afternoon. I don't know what time it is. We'll hear that a lot with Spags.
I can't wait. Oh, we got
next
Spags
Monday.
season back.
Next Monday as coordinators. So we are fully into press conferences and practices, and it is right here. We've made it through, and I don't know why, but this has felt like a very quick offseason. Other off seasons have felt very long. Last year, it felt like the off season was like 8 months from the unfortunate end of the season. But even including free agency and the draft, when everything is there, and you've got these little landmarks along the way that get you to training camp. Man, it just felt like it dragged on and dragged on. And maybe it was so much of the conversation around what are the Chiefs going to be, and it was all about the Bills and the Bengals, and the Chiefs are taking a step back, and maybe that just became so much of the conversation that we had talked about ad nauseum that it felt like it was so long. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but this offseason has felt like it has flown by. I cannot believe we're already talking about training camp right now.
No, it has, but I think the reasons are just all out here in front of us, but it feels like we've lived it in a whirlwind because, the season goes into February, the Chiefs win, and then there's the parade. Well, that's a Chiefs event, right? The offseason continues to have these celebratory moments. The draft is in Kansas City. Travis Kelce hosts Saturday Night Live. The celebration tour continues over and over and over again. I mean,
the match happens.
The match happens.
Then the American Century Championship.
American Century goes on. You have quarterback come out, the middle of that conversation. These are all relatively recent. You might have had a couple of gasps of air during maybe March, but that was all ramping up. That was that interlude, but straight from Super Bowl to draft stuff, even in Kansas City. April's draft month. You had SNL in there somewhere in that middle section, I think, right? It has just been the Chiefs' offseason. We talked about them making up for kind of losing some of the victory lap that they didn't get in 2020 because of the pandemic. They've gotten every beat of that victory lap this time, and so it feels like the season ended yesterday. It really is unbelievable, especially watching quarterback and then going through those games again. It's like, oh yeah, this was like 4 weeks ago. What? That was in November? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and the series was awesome. We can get into more of that as well as the show and the shows progress as well. But Chiefs, DeAndre Hopkins is expected to sign with the Titans. It is not official yet that he has signed with the Titans, but 2 years, $26 million, up to $32 million in incentives over those 2 years. $13 million this year, up to $15 million in incentives this year. So $12 million salary, and he can only earn $3 million more in incentives. So this was a lot of, this is the money you're getting. You don't have to do a whole lot. It's not a incentive-laden deal like Juju Smith-Schuster last year, and it's 2 years. I've got a number of thoughts on this, Josh. When you saw the news come out that Hopkins is expected to sign with the Titans, and then we saw what some of the details were in the contract. What was your reaction to that news?
The two things that are not either things you tweeted about, because I like where you're headed, or at least where you were headed last night. I like a lot as well. But the two things that jumped out to me, one was with the contract details, and one was with the wording of some things from Jeremy Fowler's report. Now Fowler had been on the report from about 2 weeks ago saying, the Chiefs are still interested, they're still looking into it, they've been monitoring all of this. Fowler last night tweets, the Chiefs, parentheses, including Andy Reid, kept in contact on DeAndre Hopkins' free agency. But with Chris Jones' extension still not done and minimal cap space, Kansas City didn't have a contract offer to compete. I'm going to hold that second part in a little different bucket.
Yes.
Because I think we can nitpick at that some.
Yeah.
But this idea that Andy Reid was like texting DeAndre Hopkins might seem, one, far-fetched, or two, inconsequential. Nay, I say, it is neither far-fetched nor inconsequential, because do you remember in the offseason of 2021, after he returned to the Steelers on a one-year deal, Juju Smith-Schuster said, yeah, Andy Reid was texting me. He was sending me pictures of the Lombardi Trophy, and it almost worked. If it wasn't Pittsburgh for another year, it would have been Kansas City. And then a year later, he's in Kansas City. I don't think that means DeAndre Hopkins is a year or two away from being a Chief, but I do think we've seen Andy Reid do that before. So what that all says, and why that really keyed in for me, is that this was not some smokescreen. The Chiefs were not passively interested in DeAndre Hopkins because Andy Reid's not going to waste his time trying to recruit a receiver who he thinks isn't going to practice. All of that was overblown in my mind. The Chiefs were really genuinely interested, which means they see room to improve their receiving core, but they were not going to outbid that price the Titans laid out. Albert Breer tweets later that the Titans got much closer to Odell Beckham money than the Chiefs were going to get for DeAndre Hopkins, and eventually the Chiefs tapped out on OBJ as well. So the Chiefs are looking to improve. They wanted a future Hall of Famer maybe in the back act of their career when they were pursuing OBJ and Hopkins. Ultimately, wasn't worth the money. We could talk about what that means about Chris Jones too.
So my reaction was, Titans, interesting. There had seemed to be that relationship. There had seemed to be a connection with the Titans. I don't expect them to win, even with DeAndre Hopkins. Now, that being said, they've always been some sort of kryptonite for the Chiefs, and now you throw in DeAndre Hopkins. That would certainly make it a little more difficult to beat the Titans, but does that mean the Titans are now one of the true competitors in the AFC to win? The Titans needed DeAndre Hopkins. The Chiefs would have really liked to have DeAndre Hopkins. Right. I think there's a difference in where the two teams are sitting in the AFC and the hierarchy and who's most likely to have a winning season and win in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. The Titans are much more likely to do that with DeAndre Hopkins. Let me change this. The Titans have a higher range of where they are to where they can be with DeAndre Hopkins, whereas the Chiefs are already the best team in the AFC. If they get DeAndre Hopkins, they just become the more best team in the AFC. Their margin for error certainly is a little bit bigger when you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, but they're the best. They would just be the bester with DeAndre Hopkins. Titans needed him. And I think we saw that by a 2-year deal and giving him essentially $15 million this year. I don't know what the incentives are, but I'd have to imagine the incentives are maybe not likely to be earned, but likely to be earned this year, if you know what I mean. So that Titans connection, it it seemed like the Titans, the Patriots, or the Chiefs. And when you talk about Albert Breer, when you talk about Jeremy Fowler and things like that, my second reaction was the contract of the 2 years, $26 million, and that the Chiefs were not getting there. I don't think the Chiefs were willing to give 2 years. I think the Chiefs were looking at 1-year deals because this was one of those to where I think when you're going after a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins, I think you go year to year because what will the Chiefs' salary cap look like next year? What kind of player would be available in free agency next year? Is there someone available to trade for? Is the salary cap ballooned to a point that the Chiefs could say, you know what, we're gonna go get a stud receiver? Even though we have talked about whether or not the strategy moving forward is to not pay receivers premier money, this is not premier money. This is not $20+ million per year for DeAndre Hopkins. My third thought was, well, if DeAndre Hopkins is signing with the Titans, he knows what the Chiefs are able to offer. And if the Chiefs are able to offer something to give him a contract offer to sign with the Chiefs, then that means they are done with Chris Jones. They are done with, at minimum, the parameters, and they know exactly what their cap is going to be this year, so they know how to fit DeAndre Hopkins into the mix this year with whatever contract they were willing to give him. Those are my three thoughts. Titans, surprising, but it was the first visit he took, and he's got a relationship with the offensive coordinator. 2 years, didn't think the Chiefs were getting there. I don't think the Chiefs were looking at $12 million base and $15 million incentive. I think the Chiefs were probably 7 or 8 base, and then you can get to 15 maybe if a lot of things happen. Super Bowl, $1 million like Juju, AFC Championship game, $1 million, things like that, where Juju signed a 3-year deal but ended up getting $9 million in cash last year with all the incentives. That's really where I thought the Chiefs were going to be with DeAndre Hopkins. But they can only be there in their contract offer if they know what Chris Jones' contract is and what that salary cap structure is going to look like. And I think DeAndre Hopkins had all the information. He and his agent had all the information of what the Patriots were offering, what the Chiefs were offering, and what the Titans were offering. And he looked at it, and he chose the Titans. And I think it was a sizable enough gap, whether that's the second year added or the base salary and not having to do a whole lot to get $3 extra million to get to 15. Whatever it was, he decides to go to the Titans, where he's got a much less chance of winning a Super Bowl, a lower chance of winning a Super Bowl percentage-wise than he does with the Chiefs. The Jeremy Fowler tweet is interesting, and we can get into that. The Chiefs, including Andy Reid, kept in contact on DeAndre Hopkins' free agency. You read this, but reading it again. But with Chris Jones' extension still not done and minimal cap space, Kansas City didn't have a contract offer to compete. I don't know how the two things can be aligned.
Yes.
With DeAndre Hopkins signing a contract now, and if he really said, I don't know what the Chiefs, I just know that they don't have a contract offer, for me not to compete there with the Titans because they don't have cap space. So I know they're signing Chris Jones, but I'm just going to go ahead and sign with the Titans right now. That would be really surprising if DeAndre Hopkins slow played this long to where Quinnen Williams' deal is done. We know all of those parameters are set. The Chris Jones deal we expect to be announced soonish. Mm-hmm. He thanked Brett Veach first and foremost at the ESPYs, and then Hopkins signed. I don't think Hopkins would sign with the Titans without having at least the information of what the Chiefs could realistically offer when they are done with Chris Jones. Those two things do not align to me, Josh.
The negotiation there had to be over. It had to be at its logical conclusion because, again, the just sort of straight reading of that report from Fowler is that the Chiefs couldn't sign DeAndre Hopkins because all they had was the coins and the couch cushions of the salary cap.
That's right.
And that is just terribly unlikely to me when you note that Hopkins has been patient this whole time. Why does a 31-year-old wide receiver, why is he in a rush to sign on July 16th? That patience had served him well. It got him out of Arizona. It got him a couple of offers. It ultimately got him a 2-year deal with some real money in it. Why would he eventually say, "Well, okay, I'm getting kind of scared here that my market's about to dry up, that the Titans are going to pull their offer"? That's horribly unlikely in my book. I think what is much more likely is that he had 3 real suitors, and it was the Titans, the Patriots, and the Chiefs. I don't know if he wants to go play for Bill O'Brien again, and I don't know what the Patriots were actually offering. They end up they extended Jacoby Myers? Devontae Parker, thank you. Mm-hmm. Jacoby Myers is a Raider now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Parker 3 years. That somewhat of the same that Juju Smith-Schuster got.
Yes. Yeah. That whole receiving group is weird, and some of their decisions have been strange. Anyway, that's a side note. But does Hopkins want to even be in that conversation? I don't know. Unless what he's hearing from the Chiefs is, hey, our hands are so tied with Chris Jones. Man, this has gotten contentious. We are nowhere near a result. Here's what we would like to offer you, but man, it might be August 5th before we could really say that we know what our cap number is going to be because we're really struggling with Chris Jones. Unless that's the reality, which none of us think that it is because of everything else we've laid out, because those parameters make a lot of sense right now. I think it's way, way, way more likely that my sort of 4 big picture linking takeaways are way more likely that the Chiefs were legitimately interested in DeAndre Hopkins, that they were confident enough in their receiver group that it would have been a luxury, not a necessity, to have Hopkins, and that the Chris Jones extension is largely done and at least enough detail to have the quote-unquote best offer for DeAndre Hopkins. So you know what your cap's going to look like in 2023 and maybe 2024, whatever else they still have to work out in the details. And then that best offer just wasn't in the same financial ballpark as the Titans. I think that is the way these dominoes fell. It makes sense. And now we go back to having a lot of well-earned questions about the Chiefs wide receivers this year because they are hugely unknown, which is honestly kind of fun.
I think Hopkins had all 3 contracts in front of him and decided he was going to go with the Titans.
Yep.
And a couple of reasons I believe that. DeAndre Hopkins waited this long.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans and the Patriots report to camp next Tuesday, the 25th. They are still 8 days away from reporting to camp. Reporting to camp. So if this was, I wanted to get into camp and I wanted to be around. Again, if he was signing with the Jets, that would make sense. They report to camp on the 19th because they play the Hall of Fame game. He's signing with the Titans or the Patriots. They report to camp on the 25th. First practice not till the 26th. There was not an immediacy to DeAndre Hopkins to get into camp right now to be there day one with whatever team he was going to sign with. He had the contracts. This was the best. The Patriots, best in finals. We want the best in finals. Here are the Chiefs, here are the Patriots, here are the Titans. Makes more sense to go to the Titans with what they have. Let's go ahead and sign the deal, and we'll be there, July 25th there in Nashville. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
I'm really excited to tell you all about one of my favorite ways to play. Let me introduce you, if you haven't already been introduced, to Underdog Fantasy. They are the easiest place to play fantasy football, and they're hosting the biggest fantasy football tournament of all time. Best Ball Mania 4. They have a $15 million total prize pool with $3 million to first place. If you haven't downloaded the app, you can get it on any app store or go to the website online. But the app is super clean, super easy to use, and to sign up, to log in and jump into a draft takes no time at all. The best ball format is super easy to play as well. No waivers, no trades. You draft your team, and then you have your best performance. That's the best part every single week. And then you can see either in the week-by-week games or in the season-long, so you can hop into now. You can see what your performances are going to be by the end of the year. If you qualify for some of those big prizes, you can make a bunch of money as the year unfolds. I've really enjoyed Underdog for years now. I'm excited to get to tell you about him here because it's a blast. Plus, you have the pick'em games as well. I'll tell you more about as time goes on, but it's a huge blast. Plus, if you want to start getting some of your early mock drafting in, just do a best ball draft. You'll be able to get a feel for the big board. You'll get some of your mock drafts in, throw a few bucks down, and you might be able to win some money with your mock drafts and then not have to worry about setting 57 lineups over the course of your football season. I've had that issue in my past playing fantasy football. No longer, though, because of Underdog Fantasy. I'm a huge fan, and if you're not signed up yet, what are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com or via the App Store with promo code Brisco. That's BRISCO, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code Brisco, BRISCO. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Looking for that perfect gift for that hard-to-shop-for friend or family?
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Drake, heading up until 2 o'clock. 913-912-4810. Text says, did you wear your turtleneck and quarter zip this morning? No, I didn't. No quarter zip this morning. Text says, maybe Hopkins talked to Jones and then Jones and knows Jones' deal may not happen. I just.
That's what I'm saying. The other extreme could be that there's a
Yeah.
total gridlock.
Yes.
I think that's way less likely.
Yeah, I would give it more likely that we're going to hear the Jones extension announced sometime soon rather than we couldn't come to some sort of an agreement. Jones is still going to show up to camp, but we're going to play out this year and then go into next year when he's a free agent and franchise tag and things like that. 913-912-4810 is the text line. So we know what the wide receiver group looks like. MVS, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, Richie James, Ross, whoever else that might be in the mix. I think the 6 receivers are the first 6 guys I named. And I know people are in love with Justin. Some are falling in love with John. Just any Ross in your life is perfectly fine. And I thought this funny, Josh. I did not tweet this out on Friday because I wanted to save it for the show.
Oh, yes. Love that.
It could count as my funniest, but I'm not going to use it for my funniest. So on Friday, get off the air and, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Canelo teed off right around like an hour after the show started. So teed off around 11 o'clock Central Time. And so by the time I got off the air, they were making the turn. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go follow them for a few holes. They were done with 10. They were heading to 11. So I walk up to 11. And, just like Spinal Tap. My walk goes to 11. They had just got done teeing off. Travis Kelce tees off, Mahomes, Canelo. Mahomes and Canelo are walking down the fairway. Kelce's talking to his caddy and sort of doing some other things. I get up there. The first thing I hear from the crowd interaction with Travis Kelce. Do you want to guess the first thing I heard?
Ooh, I'm gonna say somebody yelled "Sucre!"
That would have been amazing.
I was rooting for you. Okay, too bad.
Here's what it is. Kelce, how's Justin Ross looking?
Oh no!
Swear to God. How's Justin Ross looking, Kelce?
How's Justin Ross looking?
I mean, the first thing I heard, it's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. And then I couldn't even see because when he turned around, right as he did that, somebody had blocked my view as I was still walking. And so I didn't see his reaction. And then the guy was like, all right, good to know. Hell yeah. I'm like, what's Kelce going to say? I don't know. It's just like, And then there's the video that was released, yesterday or Saturday with Sky Moore and Justin Ross working out together and all of that. But I just thought it perfectly in line with the last two off seasons that I get up there and the first thing that is yelled, what's Justin Ross looking like?
And it's simultaneously my favorite and least favorite thing about just like fandom as a whole, because it's partially my favorite thing because, this offseason we talked about, it's gone by so fast. How long do we let a Super Bowl settle before we're like, all right, what does this team need to do to start running it back? We start scouting before we before the Chiefs do. That's obviously not true. They're scouting years in advance. But like there are some sects of fandom, SECTS, where it's like, all right, Super Bowl's down. We're Nick Saban. We are no smiles to be had after I set that trophy down, and we're on the recruiting trail. And this isn't that, obviously. This is just like hype of a guy that you want to see. That it's part of the reason it's also really fun, because this whole offseason is like, well, you remember when they snagged Justin Ross after the draft? Not during, but after the draft last year.
A redshirt year.
Yeah, he's been learning the playbook. They traded Tyreek Hill, but they won the Super Bowl anyway. And when it's like, really, every single syllable we have spent on Justin Ross, we should have spent on talking about how great Travis Kelce is. And how incredible Patrick Mahomes is. We can only do that for so long. You gotta look to what's next. And sometimes it's Justin Ross.
It was so perfect.
It's perfect.
I couldn't wait to see you. I didn't want to text it. I didn't want to tweet it. I wanted to say it because the text or the tweet wouldn't do it justice of the Kelce, what's Justin Ross looking like, huh? Come on, man. The difference maker right there was Justin Ross.
Spill the goods. Stop hiding him from us.
Come on, Kelce. What's Ross looking like?
Fantasy? Should I have drafted him in fantasy? Keep a link. Dynasty, PPR.
And Kelce responded. I just don't know
what the response
was, but it clearly tickled the fancy of this particular fan.
I'm going to guess it was sort of like maybe either a thumbs up or kind of a whoo kind of face, kind of whoo.
I think the whoo is closer to the face because that was the mood Kelce was in all weekend, and especially Friday. He was in a woo mood. If you can't tell, on hole 18, when I took the video on Twitter of him letting Raiders fans know about the amount of smack talk that they can talk to him, and it's mainly on the golf course. Kelce was out in the sun, was up late the night before as the celebrity judge for the celebrity karaoke on a Thursday night, and was pretty late that night. And as we mentioned, showed up to the driving range, took 3 swings, and then immediately ran to the hole that he was on as he started his tournament. And by hole 18, while that probably lack of sleep in the sun all day and the non-tweeted out videos of him chugging or shotgunning beers along the way, he was 3 sheets to the wind on 18. If you go back and listen to him talking, and he was he had a full day of enjoying himself.
Yeah, a full
on
few
the course.
days, right? I mean,
from that from like early, like I think from hole 11 or 12 to hole 18 is when he just wherever somewhere in there is when it just went down. It went from I'm good to oh my God, this is now catching up with me in a hurry. I need to get to 18 so I can go and take an 18-hour. I need a coma.
I
to
need
be able to
be
recover.
in a sensory deprivation chamber, just like 4 IVs, and I need a month in here.
I am feeling it right now.
I will see you in St. Joe. I will not be early.
I just need to swing and not fall backwards. I've got a few swings left, and that's really it. That's all I've got in me whatsoever. He was holding it together on the 18th hole, but if you go back and listen to that video of him talking to whatever fan, that was like, well, that's funny. This is the only thing the Raiders fans can talk trash to me about.
So good, man.
He had enjoyed himself on the course.
And he didn't even do it in anybody's Twitter DMs. You know, there are varying degrees to all
That's
this.
exactly right. No doubt. And I don't know if he was in contact with DeAndre Hopkins the way that Andy Reid had been keeping in contact with DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just imagining Andy Reid just sending a text like, you up? Just randomly to DeAndre Hopkins. Hey, you up?
I have never forgotten about the Juju stories because just the idea of the Lombardi trophy, like in the shot, like Andy Reid just taking a selfie with the Lombardi trophy lives in my head forever.
It's great. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will talk with Brittany Force on the other side of the break. NHRA reigning world champion as coming up on August 11th through the 13th at Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka is the Menards NHRA Nationals. We'll take a timeout. We'll do that coming up next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, I tell you about Bickmer Electric, 20 years in the industry, and boy, electricity, a big deal this weekend. I got home from Lake Tahoe, and electricity was out not until later Saturday afternoon on into the evening is when it came back on. I know that there are people still dealing with that, and that sucks, and I'm sorry, and hopefully that gets done pretty soon. But if the electricity from the company and storms is not the issue, but you still have things to deal with, Bickmer Electric is the spot for you. Again, 20 years in the industry, your locally owned one-stop electrical contractor, from small jobs to big jobs, the commercial, residential electrical needs, all of that is taken care of at Bickmer Electric. We had a number of different things we wanted to get done. We decided we were going to piece it out by different jobs over the course of months, and that was great working with Bickmer Electric. Give them a call, 913-313-6751. You can go online, bickmerelectric.com. Again, 913-313-6751. It's Bickmer Electric.
Your Kansas City Symphony presents Harry Potter and the Deathly...
right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Coming up at noon, we'll talk with Josh Kaiser, KC Sports Network One Royal Way podcast. Get his thoughts on the first half of the season. But really look ahead to the second half and what we're seeing in these 3 games, which is a small sample size, Josh. You look like you're kind of thirsty over there. So a small sample size is what we're going off of. 913-912-4810, and then Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. Right now, let's talk some college sports. Ari Timken, Sirius XM College Sports, joining us here in the zone. Ari, how are you, sir?
I'm great. What's going on with you?
Nothing much. And enjoying the fact that training camp is going to be getting underway and the rookies and quarterbacks showing up to St. Joe for the Chiefs tomorrow. So ready to go with that. And then, SEC Media Days going on today over the next 4 days, and Big 12 Media Days wrapping things up last week. So we wanted to have you on because we wanted to talk with every single person that picked Oklahoma State to win the conference. And so we're starting with you, Ari, and we're doing our one-day series of that. We joked at the time, and it was like Oklahoma State, they got a first-place vote. We're like, oh, Mick Schaefer, who went to Oklahoma State. We're like, oh, Mick must have been voting. You had Oklahoma State. You were the number one that had Oklahoma State. So let's start there. I don't even care why you picked them. I'm just curious of the reaction from people of hearing that you were the one that picked Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think most people were surprised, and certainly surprised that Oklahoma State was, got a first place vote, but that it was me. I think a lot of people just figured it was, random homer from Stillwater. And,
I did.
And, my buddy Robert Allen, who does a good job at the Oklahoma State Radio Network and PokesReport.com, is certainly a guy that's done that in the past. So I think everybody thought it was Robert Allen. But, and then some people got angry, or like, revoke his credentials. And it's like, look, this is a preseason poll. This isn't the MVP or Heisman Trophy we're voting for here. So, let's take a step back and not be so upset about it. I thought we were supposed to have fun. I thought this was sports. I thought, no? Okay. But look, for me, I'm betting on I'm placing a lottery ticket here on a team that I think is going to surprise. But the reality is somebody is going to surprise in this conference. That's what we saw last year with K-State won the conference, and TCU, who's picked preseason 7th, went all the way to the national championship. It's what we saw 2 years ago when Baylor team that the previous year had only won 2 games won the conference. So, I think recent history suggests, and that this year will be no different, there's going to be a surprise team in the Big 12, and a surprise team that nobody expected to be competing towards the top of the conference is going to be doing it. And if recent history is any indication, there's going to be a surprise team that's going to win this conference this year. And so that's why I went with Oklahoma State as the surprise team. But there's a bunch of teams that are not K-State, Texas, OU that you can make the case could win this conference championship this season. And so I went with Oklahoma State. I think when you look at the top of the conference, the only coach that we don't really have question marks about is Chris Kleiman. Mm-hmm. But there's questions about Brent Venables. There's questions about Steve Sarkisian. There's questions about a lot of these coaches. So I went with Gundy simply based on, his history, his success, and betting on him. But we could say you can make a case for Iowa State to be that surprise team. You can make a case for Texas Tech to be that surprise team. And certainly, again, K-State did lose some guys, and one of them is getting ready to go to camp here, and as you just alluded to, in St. Joe, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Mm-hmm. But they still have a ton of talent. Arguably the best coach in the Big 12, and certainly one of a coach that's on a great run right now. With and by the way, with an experienced quarterback that's coming back who is very under the radar right now.
It's Ari Timken's our guest, and it's interesting, the preseason vote, and there's a lot of groupthink, and if you don't go along with groupthink, then right. It's just like, well, you're just trying to be different just to be different, and that's really you don't really believe that. And we had the same reactions, like, all right, who from Stillwater voted Oklahoma State, voted them number one, but it reminds me a little bit of the preseason ACC voting, and one vote. Deshaun Watson was the preseason ACC Player of the Year in 2016. Lamar Jackson got one vote, and that one vote was one of my buddies, and he got roasted online of like, what a homer, because it was Deshaun Watson. And if you didn't say Deshaun Watson, you're an idiot. Well, that was the year Lamar won the Heisman Trophy and won ACC Player of the Year, and he was like, look, am I a Lamar fan? Yeah. But what he did last year, what he did in the bowl game against A&M when he had 200 rushing, 200 passing, and had 5 total touchdowns, like, yeah, that guy can do that this year. I think with this offense, he's going to be the offensive player of the year. So he had his reasons behind it, but it was well, you didn't vote for Deshaun Watson, therefore you're an idiot. And he ended up being, the Heisman Trophy winner. So it's a little bit like that. If it's groupthink, if you're outside the box thinking, then it's going to be, well, you're just doing it to be different. But it's a good point in terms of a surprise team, because I know that TCU didn't win the Big 12 last year. They played in the national championship. But if TCU would have got a number 1 next to their name in a first-place vote, that person would have been viewed as an idiot. And you're just trying to be different. You're just doing things, or you're a TCU homer. What was it? Baylor a couple of years ago goes from 2 wins to winning the Big 12 championship. Like, this is not the Oklahoma and then everybody else conference that we watched for so long.
It's a league of parity, and that's the ultimate point here. It's a league of parity, and that's not changing this year. There's not suddenly a Georgia that's going to just run roughshod over this conference. Like, I know Texas has talent, and Oklahoma's really good too from a talent perspective, but like, nobody's running away with this conference, and nobody's the overwhelming favorite. So based on that, there's going to be a surprise team. Like, that's a fact. There is going to be a surprise team that nobody expects to be competing towards the top of the conference, and I just tried to identify who I thought that was. But I mean, you're right. To your point, like, if anybody would have picked Max Duggan to be the offensive player of the year in the preseason, like, he wasn't even the starting quarterback at TCU. And 2 years ago, if anybody had picked Baylor to win, I mean, it's the same deal.
Yeah.
And the other factor I think that's maybe less being taken into account here is Oklahoma State's schedule is really easy relative to Texas and OU and some of these other teams. They don't play any of the preseason top 4 teams other than Oklahoma. And then beyond that, they finish off the season with three of the 4 newcomers, and really 4 of their last 5 are against the newcomers. And I would argue you'd rather have the newcomers at the end of the year when depth is most being tested than at the beginning of the year. Like my Jayhawks have 2 of the newcomers at the beginning of the year. I'd rather have them at the end of the year, because the biggest difference between Power 5 and Group of 5 teams is not 11 versus 11. They can match you there. It's what you have depth beyond that. It's really your 85. And that's where I think Oklahoma State's at a major advantage. Look, will Oklahoma State win this conference? I mean, certainly, smart money would be on Texas or Kansas State based on what they've done recently and their talent. But there's going to be, it's a fact. Write it in stone. There's going to be a surprise team this year. I just tried to identify what that surprise team is.
All right, Timken's our guest. Which of the newcomers would be the most likely surprise team this year? And maybe not. Maybe they're not even the surprise team. But I'll just ask it this way: which of the newcomers is most likely to make some noise early on in this conference?
So, I mean, going into Big 12 Media Days, the answer was UCF, and the answer is UCF because, number one, they have their quarterback back. Of the 4, they're the only one that is not bringing in a new quarterback. So that obviously gives them an advantage. Plus, the strength is their offensive line being able to lean on their running game and then their running quarterback. So I think there's a clear sort of line there of what kind of an offense they're going to look like. The other part to UCF is they're sort of in a situation like Texas Tech or Baylor in that they're not going to get the top of the top in the state of Florida. Like Texas Tech or Baylor won't get the top of the top in the state of Texas. But the ones that fall through the cracks, the Mark Mangino, Gary Pinkel, Mizzou, Kansas teams that just feasted on the Todd Reesings, Chase Daniel, guys that fell through the cracks out of the state of Texas, that's what UCF has in Florida. And so I think, like, from a talent perspective, depth-wise, they're there in terms of what they've been recruiting. But I'll tell you, after Big 12 Media Days, BYU is a team that stands out in this capacity too, because, I mean, and these are things that aren't new to any of us, but, I mean, they've got older, big, strong guys up front at both lines of scrimmage. And so, I mean, I think anytime you can sort of match the rest of the conference from a size and strength standpoint, you're in good shape. And BYU will consistently do that. So, and this is, Kalani Sitake shared with us, like, it's not something that, like, they suddenly realized they were going to be a Power 5 team and started preparing for that. Like, this is something they've been preparing for since it was announced. And so, like, they might surprise some people, but they're not going to surprise themselves, is sort of the attitude that Kalani Sitake took. So I could see either BYU or UCF having the most success in year one, but I don't expect any of them to crack the top 5 in this conference this season.
All right, Timken's our guest, Sirius XM College Sports. What was your reaction to Jalen Daniels, the preseason player of the year in the Big 12? That got a lot of run and a lot of play around here, but What was your takeaway to Jalen Daniels being voted preseason player of the year?
Oh, what was my takeaway to him being voted preseason player of the year? What was my takeaway about what he was wearing?
You mean the highlights rolling while he's walking around in the medallion?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
the
amazing.
iPhone iWatch face connected to the $50,000 diamond encrusted chain that he had.
Amazing. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And you know what? I didn't think he could top last year with the shoes he was wearing.
Right.
And he did. He found a way to top last year with the shoes he was wearing. Look, he doesn't lack for confidence, that's for sure. I don't think he showed up last year with the whatever velvet red shoes that he was wearing. I don't think you show up with that and think, well, I'm just going to see what happens, give it the old college try. And then you're showing up with your highlights and everything and being the preseason offensive player of the year. I was surprised by the reaction, to be honest with you. And I think if you take the KU away from the name, I read off the stats and I joked around. I was like, well, in the SEC offensive player of the year is, and I read off all of the things that Jalen Daniels has going for him. I'm like, well, this guy was the second team All-SEC quarterback. The first team All-SEC quarterback is no longer there. This Alabama quarterback returns as the highest rated passer in the country of all returning players. And he won Conference Player of the Week, all this, and this, and he's returning this year. Makes sense. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's Jalen Daniels at Kansas. And so, like, if you do that, it's less surprising. So Jalen Daniels being Offensive Player of the Year was zero surprise to me because, again, he was second-team quarterback last year, and first team is not in college anymore. So is this, some surprise that he's the Big 12 Player of the Year or a preseason Player of the Year, or is it Kansas is next to the name, which makes it a little surprising?
Right. I think that's it. I mean, it's no surprise given what he accomplished last year. I think the surprises are the fact that Kansas is here this quickly after where they were. So a couple of things on this. Number one, Les Miles will never get the credit he deserves for the success that Kansas is enjoying right now. But make no mistake about it, his fingerprints are all over the success. And it's sort of the perfect storm of the right coach, the right time with the right people. And those players are a big, we're recruited in many ways by Les Miles. But it's not just that. It's the fact that for 2 years, he said, we can't shortcut this thing. We've got to recruit high school kids and get our numbers back up. Because as we know, Kansas from a football perspective was so far below the scholarship limits that made it, so impossible for them to compete at a FBS level. And so, Les Miles committing to replenishing the roster with young talent is a major reason why they're here. Now, with that being said, Lance Leipold did a really good job in the transfer portal. He brought in some really important pieces that were with him in Buffalo that have buoyed the success of this team. Mike Nowitzki is their center for 2 years, has been huge, and they don't enjoy that success without fortifying the offensive line, which a couple of years ago was one of the worst we've ever seen. But Daniels was recruited by Brent Dearman, and so a lot of this stuff kind of goes back to some of the issues and people that were part of the issue well before Lance Leipold got there. But it's the fact that Leipold was the right guy at the right time with the right players. Now, with that being said, and far be it for me to sort of lift up a K-State player in the absence of or while simultaneously denigrating a KU player, with where my allegiances lie. But like Will Howard kind of did at the end of the year what Jalen Daniels did at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's sort of bizarre. Like, here's Will Howard that really became the story of the Big 12 at the end of the year. He was incredible and lifted K-State to a Big 12 championship. So Daniels may have started the year that way, but it was Howard that finished the year that way. And so we'll see. I think those two guys and their trajectories are really interesting to watch. And then, I think the thing with Kansas is that even if you know what's coming, it's so impossible to stop because they've got, at any given time, 3 to 4 ball carriers, including the quarterback, and you don't know who has the football. And so that's just, it's a really, really smart option attack that Andy Kotelnicki has installed, and that's why I think they're still going to be good again on offense this year. I don't know how effective they'll be defensively, to say it.
All right, Temkin is our guest, Sirius XM College Sports. Let's talk K-State. They were picked to finish second in the preseason poll, a team that won the Big 12 last year. A number of returners, certainly some guys that have graduated on into the NFL. And as we look at the future with Oklahoma and Texas heading off to the SEC after this last year, how often do you think Kansas State should be in a position to where they're going to be competing for the Big 12 championship, which, as we get to expanded playoffs, would mean a spot in the playoffs if you win the Big 12. Without Oklahoma and Texas there, and even this year they're picked to finish second, and they won it last year with Oklahoma and Texas. With that being the case and what Chris Kleiman has done, I mean, are they going to be viewed as the class of the Big 12? Are they the team that rises to the top to take the spot of the Oklahoma and Texas, and it's Kansas State, and then some other schools as well? How many years or how often do you think Chris Kleiman and K-State will be in position to win the Big 12?
I'm super glad you went there because, I mean, if not for a couple of years with Ron Prince and then a couple of years at the back end of Bill Snyder's career, this is the most dominant, consistently dominant program in the entire Big 12. And, I mean, you could make a case in the country with what they've done in the Bill Snyder era and then Chris Kleiman era. Again, a couple of years with Ron Prince, I get it, and then the end of the Bill Snyder era wasn't great. But Kleiman is very similar to Snyder, but not like as a copycat. He was just the right guy at the right time that obviously had a relationship previously with Gene Taylor. And so to answer your question, yeah, because they've already done it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what K-State has done from a consistency standpoint is nothing short of a miracle considering where they had been. And the fact that they know what they are, there's great alignment. I mean, we hear all the time about alignment and the importance of that with your administration. I don't think you can have better alignment anywhere than they have at K-State right now. And so, I mean, look, they have the best offensive line in the Big 12, and that's saying something because Texas has 3 NFL offensive linemen on their offensive line, and West Virginia has a really good offensive line too. They have 3 top 10 offensive lines in all of college football, and I'll stand by that. And K-State's the best. So when you and that's not an anomaly here, right? Like we've seen big time offensive linemen developed in that program and come out and become NFL players. And so if you can continue to do that, you're going to win at a very, very high level. But obviously the quarterbacks that we saw in the Bill Snyder era, and their offensive coordinator is one great example of this in Colin Klein, is, look, I mean, these are elite playmakers. These are really good players, but Will Howard brings another dimension, at least from what we saw at the end of last year, that we really haven't seen from a K-State quarterback. Going back, I mean, Michael Bishop was a different animal unto himself. I'm not trying to say that. But you know what I mean? Like, just the ability to be a passer is just not exactly something we've seen from K-State. And we'll see it this year, because the weapons right now, it's like, oh, they lose Warner and they lose Cade Warner and they lose this guy and they lose that guy. So they still can have the weapons. I'd argue they have the quarterback to sort of make the weapons. So the answer to your question is yes. They've already been doing it, with the exception of a few years in there, and they should continue to do so because Kleiman is that good.
Yeah, and they're winning recruiting battles. They get a guy that's choosing Kansas State over other schools, including Oklahoma and Nebraska. They've got Avery Johnson coming in to maybe be that guy that takes over for Will Howard and just continue that quarterback position for K-State, which is that position in college. If you're not overwhelming teams with talent and stacking top 10 recruiting class on top 10 recruiting class, it's such a difference maker and an equalizer. And if you've got somebody that can go and make plays, I mean, you've got a chance. You've got an opportunity. I mean, Lance Leipold's career right now at KU would be different if he didn't have some superior quarterback play going on. And that's the coaching that's getting the best out of him. And it's also the player that's able to do some of those things and take advantage of the skill set that he has. Ari Timkins, our guest, Sirius XM College Sports. Last one for you. The border war with KU and MU returning in football. It's returned in basketball. There was the Cold War between the two when Missouri went to the SEC. Now Oklahoma is heading to the SEC. Will Bedlam return at some point? Or is this one of those, as long as Gundy is at Oklahoma State, they will never play Oklahoma? Maybe it'll be post-Gundy when Bedlam may return.
Well, and by the way, how epic for KU that they didn't play over the last decade.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Epic timing here to get this game back right when Kansas has restored itself to a FBS Big 12 type level. I don't know. I mean, certainly based on Gundy's comments, and look, this is pretty consistently what Gundy said since the announcement. I mean, Gundy, you guys are leaving us. We have no reason to play you. Sort of a very similar thing to what we heard from Bill Self when Mizzou left. And so when thoughts of, well, will the border war ever come back? And it's like, well, Bill Self, his public comments don't seem to indicate that it will, and he's got a lot of power. Well, Gundy has a very similar amount of power within his athletic department. So, once time heals that wound, hopefully they can get back to playing. But it's not just Gundy. I mean, Chad Weiberg, he wasn't there this year, the athletic director at Oklahoma State, but we did talk to him last year about this. And, I mean, college football games are scheduled so far in advance. I wish we could schedule these things in shorter periods of time, in shorter intervals, but we just don't. It's standard, and so as long as it continues to be the standard, athletic directors are going to continue to schedule that way. So they've got to make a concerted effort to say, this is going to be a game that is going to get back on the calendar in this year. What I'll say is I get the hurt feelings from Oklahoma State, and you got to flex the power that you have, and this is the only power they have. This rivalry game is really important for this conference, and it sucks that it's going away because all we've seen in the era of realignment is the Big 12 lose rivalry games. I mean, they lost Kansas, Missouri. They lost Texas, Texas A&M. They're losing Texas OU. They're losing Oklahoma, Oklahoma State. The rivalries that remain here are Kansas and Kansas State and Kansas State and Iowa State. And then you also have, you've got the Butt Bowl with Baylor and Texas Tech. So there's a few others, but nothing to the degree of what brings in viewers quite like Bedlam. So for Oklahoma, I hope they want to continue to play that game. And I hope at some point that Oklahoma State comes around to it because the Big 12 needs that game more than Oklahoma or the SEC needs it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm more on the side of Oklahoma State and Kansas in the conversation about, playing. I know that Missouri felt like the Big 12 did them wrong, and I don't disagree with some of those things. But it's kind of like saying, hey, we got divorced, and I wanted the divorce, but why can't we go on a date? Why can't I date? Right. Why can't I come over tomorrow night? Well, because you wanted a divorce, you left me. Yeah, but it doesn't mean we can't, hang out a little bit, right? No, that's exactly what it means. That's the point. We broke up.
Take and eat it too situation.
Yes, no, we broke up.
Sure.
Ari Timken, Sirius XM College Sports. Ari, you're the man. Really appreciate the time, sir, as always, and looking forward to catching up soon as we get closer and closer to college football. SEC Media Days going on this week as well, so we'll catch up soon when we get closer to the regular season starting. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you. Thanks for asking. Take care. Later.
Absolutely. There's Ari Timken. Great stuff from him, Sirius XM College Sports. And he is the one. There was the one in parentheses next to Oklahoma State. Those are the first place votes they get. He is the one that's there, and apparently people saying his credentials should be revoked because he voted for Oklahoma State. But I get the thought process of, look, I think there's going to be a surprise team. And I'm going to try to identify that surprise team. People are going to vote Texas and Kansas State and Oklahoma, and that's going to be easy. Obviously, there's talent there, and Kansas State's the defending Big 12 champion. But a couple of years ago, Baylor won the Big 12, and they had won 2 games the year before that. And last year, TCU was picked 7th. I know they didn't win the Big 12, but they played for a national championship. And if somebody were to pick TCU to win the Big 12, be like, you're an idiot. I mean, clearly, you're just a big horny frog, just a big guy loving the frogs, just excited for the frogs. But that wasn't the case. They would have been smart. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. One Royal Way podcast and KC Sports Network. We'll talk some Royals with him. But I want to get into some Chiefs. On the other side, we'll talk a little bit about the quarterback series. And then, interesting, following Mahomes and Kelsey on Friday, of the crowd, the patrons, as they would call it at Augusta, the comments, the pictures or lack thereof. I had a number of takeaways and observations of just sort of being in the crowd, walking around, not being a, quote, media member, just walking with the commenters, We'll do that coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Drake. We'll talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. Thank you to Ari Timken. Talking some college football there, some Big 12 college football. SEC Media Days getting underway today. Eli Drinkwitz at the podium around 3:15 or so. We will hear from the Chiefs tomorrow in the 1 o'clock hour as the rookies and quarterbacks will show up to St. Joe tomorrow, and veterans reporting on the 22nd. The franchise tag deadline today at 3 o'clock Central Time. So Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. It's already been reported that Tony Pollard and the Cowboys will not reach an agreement before the deadline, so they will go into this year with Pollard playing on the franchise tag, and we're getting into the final 4 hours for Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs to get something done with them on a long-term deal, or they just simply play the franchise tag this year with them. So that's what's going on in the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins agreeing to a contract with the Tennessee Titans. It hasn't become official yet in signing that, but 2 years, $26 million, incentives up to $32 million. And, last we talked was on Friday, and we were discussing, emojis and Instagram posts and things like that, and connections between Chris Jones and DeAndre Hopkins. And in the first hour, we talked about our reaction from seeing the DeAndre Hopkins contract. And I want to play this clip. We'll get into some of the observations from Friday out at the golf course and things like that in Tahoe. But I want to play this clip because this may be part of the reason why DeAndre Hopkins chose the Titans. Here's Blaine Bishop. He's former safety for the Tennessee Titans, now works, I believe, as like the color commentator for the Tennessee Titans, but around the Titans organization in the media now after playing for the Titans. And he says that the Titans might have forced Hopkins' hand on this one.
I'm a little surprised that he's signing now before training camp because he knows the offense. So being a vet guy, he could have kind of waited. Maybe they kind of pushed the envelope and said, hey, this is our last shot. This is our final offer. You take it now, or we're going to pull the plug on the offers.
I thought that was interesting and sort of stood out as someone who's around the organization. And if that was a wink, wink, maybe this happened, or if that's just him simply saying, look, I mean, maybe that's why they did that. But it's curious that he signed already. And we mentioned this. The Titans don't report to camp until the 25th. That is 8 days from now for them reporting to camp. He's got the relationship with the offensive coordinator with the Titans when he says that, he knows the offense. He's been around the verbiage before and the play calls and things like that. So there's not a whole lot of, I got to figure out what offense I'm in right now. Bill O'Brien in New England, sort of the same thing. I got to figure out what offense I'm in right now to learn all of these things, both the Titans and the Patriots. And maybe that's part of him signing there instead of the Chiefs, a brand new offense and nuances and things like that. Whereas the Patriots and Titans are more familiar with what those offensive play calls and signals would be. So it wouldn't have the sense of urgency to get into camp and sign right now because they don't report for another 8 days because they don't play the Hall of Fame game or play the early game on Thursday night like the Chiefs do and the Lions. Those are the teams that are reporting earlier to training camp. Chiefs reporting on the 22nd with their veterans. New York Jets are playing in the Hall of Fame game. They report on the 19th. Most everybody else, Patriots and Titans, as we're speaking directly from the standpoint from them, they both show up and report to camp on the 25th. So I do wonder if the Titans were like, look, the Chiefs may be getting something done with Chris Jones, but this contract goes away soon. So if you're going to wait and slow play this, we're going to go and try to find something else or make another deal or whatever it might be. I don't know who would be out there because then DeAndre Hopkins could call their bluff.
Right.
It's like, okay, you're going to give me an ultimatum? Like you're going to pull the offer on, Monday if I don't agree to this right now? Yeah, I mean, okay.
Maybe he's sick of waiting.
Yeah, I mean, right. He might have just been like, I just want to get this done. I want to know where I'm going. Final. Best and final. New England, Tennessee, Kansas City. Best and final on Saturday night, and then I'll make my decision by the weekend.
This was an LFB contender, but I think it's pertinent now, so I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag early.
Oh my goodness!
Might try to sneak it past Mick later too.
Oh yes.
Do you know who on the Tennessee Titans had the most career touchdown passes before they got to this deal with DeAndre Hopkins?
Receptions, you mean?
Touchdown. What did I say?
passes.
Touchdown receptions.
I was going to say Tannehill probably.
Yeah, that would have, I
Titans,
think, been correct.
More than Malik Willis.
Touchdown
and
receptions last year.
In their career, I mean, is it Treylon Burks?
Treylon Burks has 1. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine has 7.
Yeah, Westbrook-Ikhine.
If Chris Moore walked in here right now, I wouldn't recognize him. Apparently, he has 8.
Oh.
That's not the answer. The Tennessee Titan with the most career touchdown receptions before signing DeAndre Hopkins was Mike Vrabel.
I was going to joke and say Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel with 12. He had 12 touchdown catches, but he had more touchdown receptions than anyone else on the Tennessee Titans before they added DeAndre Hopkins.
And he doesn't even play anymore.
And he never played offense. It really, like, that stat blew my mind. But with that in mind, I'm sure the Titans wanted to know who their guys were going to be by the time camp came around. I'm sure they said, hey, this is our offer. You got their offer. You got the Chiefs' offer. What are you waiting for here? Let's make a decision. And I could see there being a world where this doesn't change anything that we said in the first hour, but I could see there being a world where he had all the numbers out there and then saw the Titans offer being the best, and the Titans were like, okay, like, it's time to bleep or sign off the training camp. And they went, all right, fine, we'll let's lock this in now, where there's a little bit of a mutually, not assured destruction, but a mutually assured beneficiality to getting this done at this point, because now, if the Titans hear that the Chiefs' offer isn't competitive, well, now the Titans could go ahead and maybe bring that number down a little bit. Hey, man, you talk about calling bluffs. Do you really want to go play for Bill O'Brien again? Be honest. Really search your soul and let me know. Or do you want to take 1 year, $6 million to go play with the Chiefs? Or you can sign this deal right now and we can stop playing this game. And some version of that, I imagine, is what happened.
So I want to talk about the things that I saw on Friday, sort of some observations being around Mahomes and Kelsey on the golf course with mixed company, right? Fans from all different teams, certainly around the people that are running the event. There's a very Kansas City-centric feel to it because of American Century and a number of people that work for American Century. They're there and volunteers and helping out and doing all of those things, and certainly some athletes and celebrities and things like that from Kansas City, which is why Alfonso Ribeiro said, at the celebrity karaoke, he was trying to get people to cheer for him, and just like, I just want you guys to know Kansas City's my second home. It's my second home. I love Kansas City. Go Royals. It's like, why didn't you say go Chiefs? Because I'm going against Kelsey. That's why. Go Royals. So that, sort of interesting. But the fans, it's from everywhere. And there's a real West Coast feel to it because you're out there in Tahoe. You've got a lot of Raiders fans, 49ers fans that are there. And so just the interaction there with fans of the NFL, not necessarily just fans of the Chiefs. And following them around as, they walk down the fairway and on into the green. And then as they go from hole to hole, and then the fans line the ropes, right, as they're walking to the next hole. The thing that really stood out to me is, like, Mahomes is the superstar. We've talked about that. Like, Mahomes is oh, my God, there's Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey's the one that draws people in.
Yeah. Because
watching them walk from one hole to the next, it was the same reaction. Mahomes was walking by, and people were like, oh, Patrick. So he's walking by. Then Kelsey walks by, and everybody's hands out trying to give him a high five. He's stopping and taking pictures with people. He's signing Mahomes is just walking by, right? Just walking by because he's the superstar. Kelsey is the one that's like, let's party. Yes. Picture? All right. Another picture over here? Yeah, I'll hold your kid. Picture. Canelo and Mahomes are already on the next hole getting ready to tee off, and Kelsey's still walking his way through the crowd, high-fiving people. Like, it's the year of Kelsey, and it's still continuing with him. Mahomes is the star of stars. Kelsey's the one that people want to be around. I thought that was fascinating watching that. Like, they just want to be around Kelsey. He's magnetic.
Mahomes is a good time, and everyone seems to enjoy being around him, but Kelsey is the guy to hang with. Mahomes is, this is a silly distinction, but if either of them is a little more competitive and the other one is a little more at home in the crowd, Mahomes has a little extra, we're playing golf, man. I gotta go and destroy these people. And Kelsey's a little more, let's go ahead and do a little luge off the Lombardi. And that seems like the way to live.
Oh, you've got you want me to shotgun a beer? Oh, great. There's a video I didn't post. It was on hole 14 or 15. Not that matters to anybody listening. But there was kind of a gallery where they had like an event of a corporate sponsor event. So you actually had stands and people, sitting in the stands. And Kelsey walked over and somebody handed him a beer. And I didn't hear what he had said, but he just crushes it. He just finishes it. And then he hands it back and the lady goes, "Oh my God, you weren't joking. It's empty."
Yeah.
It's like, no. Did you not know who you were talking to?
Yeah.
And so I didn't post that video from the weekend, but I thought that was interesting. The other thing that I witnessed and heard, and I put the video out there of Mahomes telling the Raiders and Bengals fan, like, I can't take a picture with a Raiders and Bengals jersey, right? I think if you're one of the stars and you're Patrick Mahomes, I think there's got to be a natural sort of suspicion of those people in different uniforms of what sort of their feeling of you is. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say this is that was hole number 18 when Mahomes said to the Raiders and the Bengal fan that were, one wearing a Devontae Adams jersey, one wearing a Jamar Chase jersey, saying, "Mahomes, can we get a picture?" And it was interesting because I was walking by them and I heard him talking about, "Well, Mahomes, let's get a picture." And I'm like, I'm going to stand right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand right here just to see if there's any reaction whatsoever. So there was a little bit of planning ahead to see like what would take place with these guys yelling, "Mahomes, picture," wearing a Raiders and a Bengals jersey. I didn't know that he would react and say, "I'm not taking a picture with a Bengals and a Raiders jersey on." But walking around the course, this is from hole 11 through 18. The amount of times I heard somebody yell Jackson.
Oh, really?
If I heard it once, I heard it 200 times.
That's crazy.
He swings, because everybody's quiet.
Yeah.
Jackson!
Wow. Wild.
Jackson! Patrick, where's Jackson? Is Jackson here? Jackson Mahomes! The amount of people that... And there were a few... I'm not going to say it, but if you change the E and the S on his last name and just put an O...
Really?
There were a number of those that were said as he was walking by. So that's from hole number 11 to 18.
Yeah.
So you can imagine when he's walking down the course.
Probably been hearing it for 10 before that also.
Yeah. And Raiders and a Bengals fan is like, "Hey, let's take a picture." It might be like, "No, I've heard a lot of stuff today." And I'm sure that's not coming from Chiefs fans that are saying those things to me that are, "Brittany!"
And then what if
And Brittany was there, by the way. There were a couple of times where Kelsey sort of had to look over into the crowd of like,
"Oh, really?
Who said that?
That's good.
Who said that?"
That's Kelsey needs to be there for
because
that.
Mahomes wasn't reacting.
No, he can't.
He didn't react one time to any of the yells of Jackson or the slur or yelling about his wife. None of that. Not a reaction one time, because he knows he can't really react.
He just can't.
Right?
Reacting isn't gonna. No reaction would probably help that story.
Yeah, but Kelsey had some reaction from time to time to that, but. It was really surprising, and I know people get heckled and things like that, and they're opposing fans, but it also made it understandable as if it was like, "Oh, Mahomes isn't..." Like somebody put out the picture of Joe Burrow taking a picture with a Steelers fan. It was like, "This is why Joe Burrow's better." Cool, will you hold on to that? Mahomes is going to hold on to those Lombardi trophies and MVPs and rings that he's wearing. But I don't know, did Joe Burrow, was he walking around a course for 18 holes and heard people yelling about his brother and his wife and... changing his last name to at 18 holes, you're just like, he's still out there having fun. He's, shadow boxing with Canelo and things like that. But and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, because when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, that's part of the national story around him is his brother.
Yeah.
But it was still surprising how many times I heard Jackson.
I am surprised by it, and I probably shouldn't be.
Every hole, there was at least 3 or 4. Where's Jackson? Where's your brother? Jackson Mahomes! Like when he would swing, like his follow through after the follow through's over, because you got to be quiet. The follow through. It's like what they used to do with Tiger Woods when it was like, "Denny's, pancakes," after Tiger Woods swings, and they're having fun with that. But that was Tiger's own doing. You know what I mean? That was Tiger answering for his, whether you like it or not, whether whether it should be something that takes place or not. Like, Tiger made that bed, quite literally.
Yeah.
In some ways, but
I think it was. Renee and I are 6 episodes through quarterback now. We got 2 left. And I think it was in 5 or 6 where it was the Bengals game, and Mahomes was standing in the tunnel, and you could hear picked up. I think a Bengals fan just yelled like 0-2.
Yep.
Because at that point it was only 0-2.
Yeah.
And Mahomes like smirks a tiny bit, and you can hear it get picked up down there. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, that's a pretty interesting moment of, within the tunnel, hearing the sort of gladiatorial shouting that comes down. Everyone's in that kind of like try to rattle them headspace kind of thing. But just like picking various family members to talk about at a golf event.
At a golf event.
I mean, if he was golfing for like the number 1 overall pick, and then like maybe if each of the quarterbacks got to golf for the top pick, and you really need to, all right, maybe we can loosen the rules a little bit, man.
Screaming and yelling like somebody did on 18 in Marty Fish's backswing that yelled, which was unfortunate because if Marty Fish birdies that hole, then they're in a playoff because Marty Fish lost by 2 points. He got the par, which was 1 point. A birdie would be 3 points. It would have tied with Steph Curry sinking the eagle. But Marty Fish hooks his shot because in his backswing, somebody goes, ah! Screams, and Curry was mad. Pavelski was mad. Everybody was sort of trying to find the person that yelled in Marty Fish's backswing. It's like, come on, man. You can have some fun, but, this is the 18th hole where you've got Curry and Marty Fish within 2 points of each other going down to the last hole. That really didn't take place at all. Like, nobody was yelling in Mahomes' backswing or anything, but it was just the walking down the fairway, sort of just the conversation, people making comments, and like the laughs around, and things like that. It was interesting how often his name was brought up. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I'd be taking pictures either. Unless it's like Chiefs fans or things like that. Like, I don't know. I'd be pretty suspect of opposing fans. That was from hole 11 to 18.
Somewhere along the line, you lose the assumption of good intentions, I think. Like, I think
the
that's
sincerity of like, oh, that's cool. He's been Mahomes for a few years now.
Yep.
He's been that.
Yep.
Kelsey's still in the party phase and not in the let's find a way to tear him down phase.
He's also less of a target. He just, like, by being a tight end, I mean, the quarterback, people don't talk about Kelsey as often as talk about Mahomes because of the nature of the position. The Netflix show's not called tight end. I mean, that's...
But also, like, the only things I heard for Travis Kelsey was Kittle's better.
Right.
And he gave like a little smile. Right. He would react to it.
Because he and Kittle are friends.
Yes.
Because, he's heard that before.
They're not saying, like, if Jason Kelsey was getting arrested and was, somebody that people didn't, Jason Kelsey! No, Kittle's better. And I was like, all right. Kind of smiling and acknowledging that. And then somebody else goes, yeah, he really is. Like, no, he's not. But whatever.
Did you, as I requested, did you shout during his backswing, you wouldn't be as good as Mark Andrews if you had diabetes?
Noah Gray's better.
When adjusting for the pancreas stuff.
Win a real ring.
Without a fully functioning pancreas. Noah Gray did.
We'll take a timeout, wrap up this hour. Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
At this point, it's a regular deal for me to tell you about the good people over at Greenlight Dispensary. They got 4 KC area locations on 135th and State Line, Bannister, Independence, and Harrisonville. They've been voted Missouri's best dispensary numerous times by the people of Missouri, and it's really obvious as to why. Walk into any Greenlight location and you'll see not just cannabis, not just culture, but cannabis with culture. The highest quality products, the highest quality standards from seed to sale. They've got this crazy inventory, the huge variety you can check out for yourself on their menu online at greenlightdispensary.com, or you can go in and browse in person. Ask the bud tenders what's right for you. They've got this huge array of different stuff. If you don't know where to begin, ask a bud tender and they'll lead you down the right path. I did that when we were out at the Underground event, the first Friday and Saturday of every month. We were out there. I got to ask some questions to some of the bud tenders of the various brands and got some good answers. You want to check out Greenlight's goodies line? You can do that. Their take on everyone's favorite treats, just infused, or their core chew gummies. Anything that you're looking for, I think you're going to have a really good shot of getting it at Greenlight Dispensary. Again, check it out for yourself. Get their extended weekend hours, all of their hours, the whole menu, their menus of the various locations. All of that is available at greenlightdispensary.com. You can order there and then go pick up your order from a drive-through or grab-and-go window, which is so easy, so convenient. It's the best way to go about it. Once you know what you want, don't know yet, go in, talk to a bud tender. That's all at Greenlight Dispensary and greenlightdispensary.com.
Attention, everyone. Are you ready for the summer heat? Let ProBuilt Pool and Patio get you.
I will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer coming up at 1 o'clock. KSHB 41 Sports Director. Some Learn Funniest Best presented by Pyramid Roofing. You know, we talked about Mahomes reporting to camp tomorrow and maybe some R&R today, some rest and recovery, whether that's some sleep or even recovery for his voice. Let's hear the interview on hole 17 at the American Century Championship. This was yesterday, so the final day, 3 rounds of the tournament. Also, both of them played in the Pro-Am on Thursday, so this is the 4th round of golf in 4 days for them while partying and hanging out with other people and going to casinos and whatever they were doing in their off time and just enjoying life. Here is a hole 17 interview with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Let's go down to Kira.
Great. I'm here with a couple of guys that are having a great time, and I know that you guys are also running on fumes, coming here straight from the ESPYs. A lot of crazy stuff going on in your worlds. Just what's the energy level like?
Oh man, it's fun because of the crowd here. You know, it always gets you juiced up, but we are running on fumes. At least I am. I don't know about this guy. He's got the little ones at home, so I already know it's a lot more work. But the fans bring it out of you, and it's always a good time.
I think I'm getting you hear my voice. It's already not great. I'm getting a little
too old to hang out with Travis. So I'll figure that out.
Yesterday, we talked about Chiefs Kingdom and just how excited you are for this upcoming season. What's the most important thing that you're keeping in mind as you head to camp and start focusing on football?
I would say just getting the new team, the new mold, getting the guys together, getting that new chemistry, because every single year is different. And I know we got a lot of turnover from last year, but you already know, just getting into the groove with the guys.
Yeah, I think we're just ready to roll. A long off season, a lot of fun. But let's play football again. I'm excited for it.
Well, a great off season. You got one more shot here in 17. Enjoy.
All right, thank you. Hey.
Yeah, Mahomes' voice. I already did, but now it's even worse. He said on Thursday morning, I can't keep up with Trav anymore. And then he said on Sunday, I can't keep up with Trav anymore.
No, then he said on Sunday, I can't keep up with Trav anymore.
Did I say Saturday or Sunday?
Whatever.
On Sunday, I can't keep up with Trav anymore. Yeah. But obviously he tried a number of nights. I think that's the point. When you say it Thursday morning and then again on Sunday in a completely different voice and tone and just exhaustion level, I think there was an attempt a number of nights to keep up with Trav.
The sunken face, the sandpapered vocal cords. Yeah, I think he put out a good effort. It's just maybe, that's the one place in his game where I do think maybe the fastball's begun to go a little bit, and I'm okay with that being the one place it's gone. Keep the actual literal fastball.
Is him not being able to party the way that he used to?
Yeah, if you can't hang with Travis Kelce, that's true for what? 99.85% of the population? I'm going to say there are probably a few people walking this earth who could party with Travis Kelce. I bet it's a small group.
But it is funny. He's talking, I can't keep up with this guy anymore. He's 7 years older than you.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't? Usually the mid-30s guy is like, I can't keep up with this guy. He's still 26, he just turned 27. I can't keep up with him. No, it's a 27-year-old like, I can't keep up with that guy who's about to turn 34. Well, I can't do it anymore.
How many years does a kid add? And is it different from 1 to 2? Is there
there's a difference from 1 to 2?
So maybe kid 1 adds 5 years, but kid 2 adds 10. I don't know what the ratio should be here.
Because you go from being able to double team in the defense to then now you're playing man-to-man.
Yeah, that's tough.
You add a third, you're playing zone.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference from being able to be like, okay, you got bat tonight? Cool, then I'll just chill. Okay, you got this, and I'll just chill. To then, oh, you got one, you got the other. So every single night you got one that's going on. It's man-to-man defense then. And especially when they both become mobile. See, right now, Patrick only has to deal with one mobile.
That's true.
Once they both become mobile, I don't know, maybe his game takes about 3 or 4 steps back.
Yeah, he's going to look older than Brady out there at some point.
That's right. In the series quarterback, they were talking about the way that he played against, was it the Rams? He had a terrible game against the Rams, and they're like, well, is Brittany going in? Is he having a kid now? Because the next day is when she gave birth to Bronze.
The Colts. I can't. One of those.
It wasn't the Colts. Was too early.
That was too early. Yeah, you're right.
Because it was cold, and it was a home game because they were having the baby the next day because it was a home game. Right. So it was either the Rams or the Titans.
I think it was the Rams. It was the atrocious game that they won by 16 points.
Yeah, when he had the turnovers in the end zone. Yeah. But it was the, Brittany's not there. She's going into labor. Mahomes is playing terrible today because Brittany's having the baby right now. Now he's got 2. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, as you can tell in my voice, it's already bad anyway. We'll take a timeout. We'll talk some Royals baseball. The 3 games over the weekend. Hey, some pretty positive things from Alec Marsh. Start number 3. Bobby Witt is looking like the number 2 pick overall. Some other things to talk with Josh Kaiser about.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Jack Johnson. You work hard to make sure your family has everything they need. Life insurance from American Family can help financially protect your loved ones by replacing a portion of your income if you were to pass away.
I don't think this team is a contender by any means. I thought coming into the season it would be hovering around 500, and that was me being optimistic. We talked about it last week on the podcast that I think our least optimistic, prediction on the year was like 74 wins, and somehow we are 20 games under that. So this team is not as bad as the record is. I think the talent is 100% there. It just needs to be realized. They've had some bad breaks. That kind of goes into it. Injuries obviously piled up, especially early out of the gate, but the growing pains are there. I don't think this team is this bad, and that's why I kind of think that the record, Josh, the record sucks. But I think the fact that it's so bad, it's so low, that's the biggest part to me. That was, A, the biggest surprise, and B, the biggest disappointment to me. So I don't think this team is that bad. It doesn't reflect how bad or how good this team actually is. And so I'm hopefully looking towards the second half of the season to kind of prove that right.
Okay, so then is it just second half? What do you want to see? Is it wins, losses? Is that what you're looking at? Is it the process of getting it through the game and encouraging signs and developing I'm using air quotes here, core, whatever that means to whoever is defining it. But what do you want to see in the second half?
I mean, the wins and losses are obviously backseat to development, kind of assessing who's going to be part of the next core, how that's going to look, and how to move forward in the off season. I think this last weekend was a great microcosm of what I want to see. We had 3 great pitching outings. The offense was asleep until Sunday, and then it woke wide awake. So that's what I want to see moving forward. I want to see the MJ Melendez, the Bobby Witt Jr.'s, the Michael Garcias, the Drew Waters. I want to see those step forward. I also want to see and get a good look about the starting pitchers. I want to see some promising development amongst them. I want to see the tinkering. I want to be able to point to, this is the progression. This is the coaching staff. This is why we can have faith moving forward. I want to find those little nuggets that are going to help us feel better, even if they lose 2 out of 3 every weekend or every series. I mean, I want to be able to come out of the series feeling like I feel on a Monday morning about this team.
I like that. Josh Kaiser is our guest, one royal way. KC Sports Network is our guest here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Bobby Witt Jr. was taken out of the leadoff spot as the main leadoff guy on May 22nd. Yeah, May 22nd was the first game when he was no longer the leadoff hitter. He's batted leadoff a couple of times mixed in there, but has not been the guy. That's 46 games, so more than a quarter of the season. It does not a full season make. It does not okay, this is now who he is or anything like that. But F4, he's number 3 among shortstops, both offense and defense. So overall, behind Corey Seager and Matt McClain for the Reds, ahead of Francisco Lindor and ahead of Wander Franco has Bobby Witt Jr. He's OPSing at 856, batting almost 300. Again, that's more than a quarter of the season. Are we seeing Bobby Witt Jr.? Is this more than just a hot stretch? Are we seeing this is closer to who Bobby Witt Jr. is than what we had seen in his first, 200-plus games in the big leagues?
Yeah, we talked about it last time I came on, that it just seemed like it was just him kind of who he is, and the luck is kind of falling into place. Back when he was struggling, his expected stats on Baseball Savant was still like a top 50 hitter, believe it or not. But now it's kind of starting to come into form and those balls are dropping, those hard hit balls are starting to find holes. He's starting to be able to extend those singles into doubles. He's, laying off bad pitches more so, and absolutely doing damage against fastballs, especially up in the zone, which was his weak spot. Every time it seems like Cotrero gets asked about Bobby Witt, he mentions the fastball. So that was obviously a point of focus to be able to progress. You got to be able to hit fastballs and be able to hit in the Major League Baseball. It's just it is what it is. But the other part about this is he's walking. Relatively for Bobby Witt Jr.
He's not Kevin Youkilis.
Right. He's not. Yeah. He's not Juan Soto out there.
Yeah, that's right.
But since June 1st, a 6.2% walk rate is absolutely sufficient.
Yeah.
He's not striking out. He's a 16.7% K rate since June 1st. And he's got this 61st highest WRC plus at 134. Bobby Witt Jr. is not a leadoff hitter. He is a run producer. He is the guy that you put in that 3 spot to knock in those guys on base. And I think if you're setting the table with an extra base hit, you bring it up a Vinny or a Salvi or an MJ or a Prado behind him, then you're really starting to extend 1-run innings into 3-run innings type of thing. So the fact that Bobby is coming into form as maybe like a 3, maybe a 2-hole hitter, I think that's who he is ultimately, and it's good to see him kind of coming into form that way.
Yeah, so Josh Kaiser's our guest. So one of the other things I was wondering about Bobby Witt, and I think there's still the hope, right? There's been the waiting for the other shoe to drop with Royals fans since the World Series and this next crop of players. But in those 46 games since he was taken out of the leadoff spot, if you take what he's done and put it over a 162-game season, it's 32 doubles, 32 home runs, 7 triples. I mean, that's 70-plus extra base hits and 50 stolen bases and almost 115 RBIs. Is he, again, is this, it's different like when you talk about some luck, sort of water finding its level. That's superstar numbers with the 70 extra base hits, 30 home runs, 50 RBI, or 50 stolen bases, 115 RBIs. Is this, is he close to that? Is that who Bobby Witt can be? Is that like a 27-year-old season, Bobby Witt, best season he's ever had would be 30 home runs, 50 stolen bases? Or do you think there's inside Bobby Witt Jr. that there is somebody that can do that on a consistent basis over the course of multiple seasons and be the 2, 3, 4 hitter sitting in there, that these 46 games are close to what he actually could be?
I mean, I think that is the ceiling, right? I think that's what everybody, all the scouts, all the analysts, all the geniuses, they all saw that potential in him when he was coming out of high school. The only thing that was going to get in the way of that is his contact issues, and I think that has kind of reared its head. That's what he's kind of, struggled with in the first 2 seasons. The fielding issues were obviously, kind of just being new and trying to get used to the game as well. But I think that was always going to be the driver about how he was going to reach his ceiling and if he was going to reach his ceiling. And if that is solved, if that's where we are now, then we can probably look forward to seeing at least, 80% of that on a consistent basis, I would think. At the same time, he's still 23 years old. He's still a sophomore. He's still very young. He's still developing. He will always be developing, but it still seems like he's still trying to make significant strides to reach that ceiling. So do I think that he can get there? Absolutely. Do I think he can be consistently there? Absolutely. Am I buying stock in putting money on him doing that next year? Probably not. So we still need to be patient with him. It is awesome to see that it's not just a peek at what he's doing. He's actually doing this for a solid stretch of games in an MLB season. So it's encouraging to see that. I'm still going to be patient with him. I'm still going to try to keep my expectations low-ish, but to be able to see that ceiling kind of peeking out through the door and giving us some hope is awesome to see.
Yep. Josh Kaiser is our guest. Let's talk a little bit about the pitching on Saturday. Cole Reagans was a guy that people wanted to see, and Alec Marsh. I've been wanting to see him each and every time out, wanting to watch him to see what he has, and 11 strikeouts on Saturday. He looked really good. What do you make of maybe an Alec Marsh, maybe development of some other pitchers? I mean, Daniel Lynch has been talked about. Brady Singer looked good yesterday, inducing a lot of ground balls and things like that. Reagans in his 5 innings looked pretty good and was sent back down because of the 27th man on the with the doubleheader. But even outside of those guys, Jonathan Heasel looks like he could be, a dominant bullpen guy. So if you look at pitching now, from where we were maybe 2 months ago to now, has your opinion changed? How much more, I guess, optimistic would you be about what the pitching would look like with this organization?
I like what I've seen this weekend. I'm not I'm not betting the mortgage on this team producing a very productive starting pitcher this season. What I am encouraged by is seeing these guys come out, compete, work with the game plan, see major league hitters be able to get those guys out and tinker and make changes to be able to accommodate a longer career. Alec Marsh especially, it was just the last 2 years, like the strikeout stuff is there. His stuff is there. He doesn't walk that many guys, but he just gets hit really well for some reason. So you get him in there against a team like the Rays, who are aggressive, who make good contacts, who don't strike out. They love seeing pitches. And to see him get 11 strikeouts on Saturday with 1 walk is wowza. I couldn't – when I heard it on the radio, I was driving and I was not able to watch it until yesterday. But to hear he was at like 9 strikeouts in the 6th or the 5th or whatever was kind of blew my mind a little bit, because that's not necessarily who Alec Marsh has been in the minors the last few seasons, and definitely not against the Rays. So it was very encouraging to see that. Reagan was amped up, got up to close to 100 miles per hour on that fastball, which is blowing my mind still this morning. So he was like soft tossing maybe mid-90s starting velocity, and to see him flirt with triple digits was just out of this world. So to see those guys making developments, even if it is like a small sample size where they're amped up and the adrenaline's going or whatever, was great to see. So to be able to, as a whole, I'm not expecting a whole lot, which I think is going to lead to a lot more Monday morning blowing minds, trying to pick my pieces of my brain off the floor type of deals, and I am very excited about that.
What do you make of the Annie Rogers story from last week when she talked about the difference in what they're doing now in the minor leagues of figuring out this? And Josh, this is going to be a novel concept because it also just surprised me that somebody could do this, but not taking a blanket approach with every pitcher across the board in the minor leagues and treating them the exact same. So that was really interesting. It's how I raise my kids. I treat them the exact same, same personality, same everything. But it doesn't matter. You just everybody that you lead, everybody on a football team, exact same. Nobody is an individual whatsoever. They're all coming in this prepackaged, expectation of, a break in case of emergency type deal. But sarcasm aside, certainly feels like there's at least a better approach to developing pitching. It's early on. We'll see if it works out. I know I am grasping for morsels in a desert, looking for any water whatsoever of pitching development. So maybe because of that, I latch onto that and I hold it close to me like a blankie, and it'll keep me safe at night. What did you make of the Annie Rogers story of some more in-depth reporting as to what's going on down in the minors?
I am elbowing you for those scraps and those drops of water in the desert right there with you. It was the same. And I should back up and go, in the preseason, there's a podcast called Royals Weekly, and Alex Duvall from Royals Farm Report kind of guest interviewed Alec Marsh, and he was the one talking about potentially like individual plans as far as like health and development and biomechanics and everything. And that was like a novel concept to compare to where they were. And that being the case kind of blew our minds right there to show how bad it was. Mm-hmm. And then to see Annie Rogers' story last week kind of not only talking about that, but hitting on all the other potential things that they're kind of doing to take a step forward and bringing in pitching progressive guys like Bove and Sweeney and bringing Q over from Tampa Bay. Those are always, pitching factories coming from those. So you think that those concepts and those ideals are coming over. JJ was kind of very much at the front whenever the hitting side started taking massive leaps forward there in like 2019, 2020 season. So he's obviously on board. Sherman coming from Cleveland. I mean, he knows what the deal is, and I'm sure he's willing to invest in kind of making those steps forward. But to see and hear the specifics, or at least as much as they can give us, is super encouraging. And the fact that they could potentially turn some of these later round picks in the draft or some free agents or make some lottery tickets actually turn into money is huge. That is absolutely what this small market team needs. Pitching is the currency of baseball, and it's good that they're all kind of on track. I get this. They might still be behind, but at least they're in the race.
Is this an example to you of JJ being different than Dayton?
Yes, 100%. I think that he is absolutely – we talked to him in the preseason, and he was talking about the differences between him and Dayton, and one of them was analytics and how he kind of sees their implementation. You can argue about, like, how much they should be implemented, and that's going to be, the secret formula, the secret sauce that Cleveland, Tampa Bay, and all these successful organizations do. But the fact that he is a little bit more analytically inclined, Q comes from a more analytical background. So the fact that they are both, willing to at least hear and implement some of those things is already leaps ahead of where Dayton Moore was, I think, at that time.
Josh Kaiser is our guest, KC Sports Network, One Royal Way podcast. 2 weeks from now, we're looking at the trade deadline. Over the next couple of weeks, if you're guessing, who on the Royals is traded, who's gone in a couple of weeks?
To be honest with you, I think the only person that you can remotely feel likely is Scott Barlow. And I was thinking about this morning, like, they certainly don't have to trade Scott Barlow. They still got a year with Barlow under control. So he is the most likely one and probably the biggest name that we're still looking for. I mean, you can see Matt Duffy potentially getting traded. I've heard grumblings and rumors about Jordan Lyles. I don't see how that is a thing, but whatever. Nicky could be theoretically dealt, which is interesting that they're trying him out in left field. Maybe they're showcasing that, but if they're trying to make him like a super utility guy, then maybe that makes sense. Calvi ain't going anywhere, so we can shut that right down. But I think Barlow is the most likely one, and I think that's really like a 60-40% chance to me.
If you're predicting, is there a trade, and if there is, who is the player? Is it Barlow?
Yeah. Okay. Yep, that would be my prediction.
Right. Yep, we'll see what happens. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way Podcast, KC Sports Network. Josh, as always, really appreciate the time, man, and joining us today. And go attack the rest of your Monday.
I'm going to attack it. I got a golf tournament going on right now. That's a Monday morning golf tournament, and I'm one of those golfers that plays just enough to not feel bad about how bad I am. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to go attack this golf course like I'm going to attack Monday. And we're going to have a great day. But I appreciate you guys having us. Shout out to you guys, and look forward to next time.
Absolutely. Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way Podcast, KC Sports Network. Josh, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother. Hit him straight. Have fun with the golf tournament.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
There's Josh Kaiser, One Royal Way Podcast, KC Sports Network. It's all golf. Golf last week. He's golfing today. Golf everywhere. That's what's going on. The Royals were golfing him out of the ballpark yesterday. Segue. And first time in Royals history, they had two different players with a triple and a home run in the same game with Drew Waters and Bobby Witt. And certainly it's been encouraging with what we've seen from Bobby Witt in an evaluation year. What's the core? Who do you have? And one of the most encouraging things would have been, do you come away saying you've got a shortstop of the future in Bobby Witt, and this guy has superstar, minimum, all-star potential in there, and you can see it. And through last 46 games or so, arbitrary cutoff, I get that, but it was also when he was taken out of the leadoff spot, so there might be a little bit more to that particular date, that line in the sand. And since then, he's been the number 3 shortstop in all of baseball in FWAR for offense and defense combined, only behind Corey Seager and Matt McClain, and ahead of Francisco Lindor and Wander Franco. And so that's been pretty awesome for him. And OPSing at 856, batting almost 300, slugging over 500. It's been awesome to watch for Bobby Witt over the last almost 50 games now. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. Mick Schaefer comes in at 1 o'clock. We continue on this Monday edition of The Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Thank you to Josh Kaiser, KC Sports Network One Royal Way podcast co-host. You know, if the Royals go 36-32 the rest of the way, they would avoid 100 losses. They just have to play 4 games over 500 the rest of the way for 64 games.
Is that all?
That's not bad.
They can do that.
I guess that would be 68 games, but you get the point. 36-32 the rest of the way. They are, and if you're wondering, like, yeah, but what would that do for them being in the bottom 3? Because last night on Sunday Soundoff, it was like, hey, what do you want to see in the second half? And what's a successful season? I'm like, well, you know, finding a quote-unquote core. What does the core mean? And who all's there? And also finishing with one of the 3 worst records in baseball is something that needs to be accomplished. If you're wondering and scoring at home, they are roughly 10 games out of the 4th worst record. So they would have to play 10 games better in the final 64 than the Nationals and the Rockies, both. Because either one of them, they would then finish with the 3rd worst record if they played better than one. They're like 9.5 in 10 games. Those teams are separated by 1 loss. And so that's what so if the Royals play 36-32, they'd still probably end up with one of the 3 worst records in baseball and have the highest percentage to win the lottery next year, and still, you know, finish and say, okay, you know, they played well. It's not like it was in years past where they went and won a bunch of games. I can't even remember what it was that I wrote down that the Royals did in September, which cost them Adley Rutschman. And we talked about with Les Norman that for some reason the Royals decided that they were going to go crazy. Oh, yeah. They went 20-13 in the final 33 games of the season when the Orioles won 6 games. And the Royals finished, I think, 7 games behind the Orioles for the number 1 pick. It's like, well, they weren't even that close. Yeah, because they went 20-13 to finish with the 2nd worst record in baseball. And the Orioles were like, yeah, we ain't winning. We're going to win 6 games. They beat the Orioles by 14 games in the final 33. 14 games better. Which, you know, luckily Bobby Witt is doing what he's doing right now, because it could be a whole lot worse. If Bobby Witt was continuing right now what he had been doing at the beginning of the season and last year for large portions, and Adley Rutschman was in the home run derby and is an all-star and is playing phenomenal baseball and is a catcher, yeah, that would be, it'd be more depressing. But Bobby Witt has been pretty damn good over the last 46 games. It's 46 games since he was taken out of the leadoff spot. So it's now 46 games. It's an arbitrary cutoff, understandable, but it has a little more meaning than just, hey, let me go find the low water mark. Oh, he batted .221 here, and it's been nothing but up since then. All right, I'm going to click on that next game when he went 2 for 3, and then now that's an arbitrary cutoff from what his low water mark was. No, I just, from the time he was taken out of the leadoff spot.
Something changed there.
Yes.
It's not totally arbitrary.
Batting .296, getting on base at .340, slugging .520, an .856 OPS, and what he's done in that more than a quarter of the season would translate over a full season to 32 doubles, 7 triples, 32 home runs, 113 RBIs, and 50 stolen bases. 70 extra base hits, 113 RBIs, and 50 stolen bases. I mean, that's the speed power that people were enamored with and were, you know, with the hearts and the stars in their eyes when they saw him as a high school kid. Adley Rutschman was the more polished player as the college catcher, but can Bobby Witt stay at shortstop defensively? He's certainly got all the athleticism in the world, but the power-speed combo is rare, what you can see from Bobby Witt. And if he can figure out the strike zone, if he can figure out swing decisions, if he can handle a fastball high, he can be special. And that's what Matt Contreras talked about a couple of times, is being able to handle the fastball, which you have to do in Major League Baseball. And he's looked different in the last 46 games since being taken out of the leadoff spot. He's not a leadoff hitter, because even when he's been playing like this, it's still .340 on-base percentage, which is certainly better than the .270, we've seen. He's now over .300 on-base percentage for the season, which is the first time since, I think, the third game of the season or something, that he was above 300 on-base percentage. So he's at 301 now with what he's done. 337, it's fine. I'd like my leadoff hitter to be in the 360, 370 range. But if you're the number 2 hitter, number 3 hitter, and you're driving in the runs and you're hitting for power, and you're hitting extra base hits, he's got 8 extra base hits in his last 6 games, 6 straight games with an extra base hit. Like, he looks like the Bobby Witt that people were hoping he could be. The question is this just a hot stretch to where he is turning it on at this time, or is he becoming the guy as a 23-year-old that is closer to what he will be on a regular basis, that it's not just a small sample size and, the water will find its level, and he's not nearly as bad as the 260 on, Josh, you should be taking a drink. Not nearly as bad as the 260 on base percentage, but he's not a 340 on base percentage guy. So it's probably somewhere in between.
Well, here's the thing.
But if he can be this, then in an evaluation season, if nothing else you came away with saying you have a superstar at shortstop, then I'll take it right now.
If he was going to show evidence that he is becoming the guy, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
Now, I know that implies that I believe that it's currently happening, and I'm not sure that I do. But there's virtually nothing else that he could be doing in this stretch that we're talking about right now, from getting out of the one hole and into everything else he's done with his bat and on the base path since then, even defensively, but we've seen some sparks there. If you want to see it, this is what you would have been looking for. Again, like, I know that this is maybe a strange distinction, but we can't say, all right, Bobby Witt, time to show us something, and then just say, well, okay, show us longer, show us more, keep showing, show us for another month and another month. Because we can only do that in real time, right? Like, that will always be what it is. And Bobby Witt, I don't think, can prove that he's the guy, that he's a franchise player, a real legit superstar that extends beyond the team he's on, which is a relatively short list of Major League Baseball players compared to the other major American sports.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's going to be that guy, it has to start with a long, consistent stretch of looking really, really good. You cannot skip the superstar level, because that is the brutalest thing about baseball, is that you have to prove it over an incredibly large sample size.
That's right.
So any slump looks like your career is falling apart, and any good stretch is always 3 or 4 bad games away. 1 week away from having 5 or 6 stinker games that suddenly you lost all your confidence. It makes baseball hard to evaluate in real time, easy to evaluate when you can zoom out. We can zoom out a little bit on Bobby Witt in this reasonable sample size. I don't even know that it's all terribly, terribly small sample size stuff out of the leadoff spot. It's an okay sample size, and the results have been great. I think that's an okay thing to get excited about as a Royals fan that may not have had that much to be excited about to this point in the season.
In those 46 games, if you go back to that date and where he ranks in Major League Baseball, to say, okay, is that superstar status? Is that all-star caliber? Is that one of the best players in baseball level and playing shortstop as well? His Fangraphs WAR, his F WAR, is 1.9, which over 46 games. In that time frame, that puts him as the 10th best in Major League Baseball.
You'll take it.
Number 10 in all of Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Here are the names that are on this list from number 1, and I went all the way down to number 28.
Okay.
Shohei Ohtani, obviously. Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis, Christian Yelich, Hae-Sung Kim, Luis Robert, Matt McClain, Bobby Witt, Adolis Garcia, Freddie Freeman, Corbin. Now, these are the people behind Bobby Witt.
In this stretch of just under 50 games.
In these 46 games. Adolis Garcia, Freddie Freeman, Corbin Carroll, Jose Ramirez, Brendan Donovan, Julio Rodriguez, Patrick Bailey, Francisco Lindor, Josh Naylor, Juan Soto, William Contreras, Josh Young, Wander Franco, Kyle Tucker, Michael Harris, Jonah Heim, Manny Machado, Isaac Paredes. Those are the guys behind Bobby Witt. The only players in front of him: Shohei, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, Ronald Acuna Jr., Fernando Tatis, Christian Yelich, Kim for the Padres, Luis Robert, and Matt McClain for the Now, there's only 2 shortstops in front of him, so he's the number 3 shortstop in baseball in that time, behind Corey Seager and Matt McClain for the Reds, and then Bobby Witt Jr. So that's what he's been doing over these 46 games. It has not just been a hot stretch. It's been one of the best players in all of baseball stretch, offensively and defensively, what he's been able to accomplish. That's incredibly encouraging, because there had been oh my God, this is going to be another, he's just going to be an okay player.
Right.
He's going to be an okay player that, is he batting 6th or 7th? No, what he's doing, you put him as the number 2 or 3 or 4 hitter, and you feel perfectly fine about that guy in a lineup that can win a division. Oh, that's your number 2 hitter? Hell yeah. That's your number 3 hitter? Hell yeah. That's your number 4 hitter? Hell yeah. Top 10 player in all of baseball is batting 4th? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. So that's really, really encouraging. And if you want to go an even smaller sample size, Drew Waters in 18 games. He's OPSing at 923. Again, it's just 18 games. If that were the course of 162, which a guy who's had his injuries, it's hard to say, but just what he's done in this small stretch of what it would be over the course of the season, it would be 27 home runs, 36 stolen bases, and 90 RBIs to go along with another, 27 doubles as well, and a couple of triples over the course of a season. I don't know that he's going to look anything like that over the course of a full year, but he's looked like this on multiple occasions over a stretch of baseball. So meaning to me, at the minimum, in 2 years since he's been up with the Royals, so he's had, this year in this stretch of 18 games, it's not a full month or anything that we've seen, and a year ago when he was, up with the Royals, and I'm going to find his stats from last year, he OPS'd at 800 in 32 games. A 125 OPS plus, so he's 25% better than an average player. 5 home runs, 6 doubles, a triple. That was in the 32 games. These 18 games, he's even better at 920 OPS. What he's shown is, at least in a little bit of time, these 18 games, those 32 last year, he can help carry a team. Because Drew Waters playing like this over 18 games, 3 home runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 4 stolen bases, 10 RBIs, that's a guy who can be put in the middle of the lineup and help carry a team depending on what else you have around him. He might go through slumps. He might go through stretches where he struggles to where at the end of the season, here's what the back of his baseball card looks like. And so when he's slumping, you got to overcome that. But when he's hot, he's just somebody in the lineup that is just going to pound the baseball. I think at minimum, what we've seen the last 2 years with stretches of this tells me there's something in Drew Waters that when he gets hot, he can freaking hit and perform, and the metrics off the bat are there.
There's room for a guy like that in a major league lineup. There's room for a couple guys like that. You can't have 9 of them.
Yeah.
But when you have a functional, healthy lineup around a guy like that who can go a little hot and can go a little cold, you can make that. I don't know if you're actually adjusting much in the schematic sense, but the rest of your lineup can sort of share the burden there. We've got our keep the line moving, and we've got this dude hitting bombs right now, or you have your, low point of a Jorge Soler type. I mean, it's a, weird comp, but when you think about the moments of how absolutely hopeless Jorge Soler felt in Kansas City to the tanks that occasionally would show up, guys like that can lose your confidence, especially if you've got 4 or 5 of them in a lineup that's only got 1 fringe star and a couple of fringe major leaguers. If that's his future, though, on a built-out, healthier lineup that's coming from somewhere, I don't know, I'm getting optimistic for some reason, then that's perfectly fine. That's useful for a team that's still trying to build and find what its long-term contending lineup looks like.
Yeah, and I don't know what we're going to see from MJ Melendez, but it was nice to see him snap his stretch of 18 games without an RBI, and however many games without an extra base hit. I mean, he hits the home run, he gets the RBI in the first inning. Certainly Manuel Margot helped the Royals with his butchering play in center field. Maybe the numbers are different.
Yeah.
Today, with yesterday's game, if he plays a little bit better center field, but when Drew Waters hits one as far as he did at 112 miles an hour into the upper tank, the hydration station, as they call it, and the longest home run of the season for a Royal, he's got that kind of power. He's got that kind of power when he gets into one. And that's from the left side. You still get him that can work from the right side. And there were not 1, but 2 different players yesterday that it was cycle watch. We got the cycle watch for both Drew Waters and Bobby Witt. They knocked out the home run and the triple, quickly. Okay, this might might actually have a cycle finally. The longest running drought in Major League Baseball without a cycle is now the Kansas City Royals. So hopefully, I thought, what if they get 2?
That would have been so
this
fun.
long?
How many times has that happened?
I don't know. They've gone this long without having one. Then they have two in the same game. They did not.
They got at least one, though, right?
No, they did not.
Oh.
They did not. That's 2 of the 4 does not a cycle make, unfortunately. But couple that with maybe some encouraging signs in the pitching and the minor leagues and what Andy Rogers wrote last week and what Alec Marsh looks like. There are certainly some encouraging signs moving forward. And while I said with Josh that maybe we are in a desert and we are crawling to try to find any droplet of water, which I think a lot of us are, maybe that's what we're getting caught up in, is that, we crawl that far to drink the sand because we're so out of it, we think it's water. That maybe there is a little bit something here. But man, it feels like you're just grasping. It feels like you're searching for stuff, even when it's Bobby Witt playing like this. Yeah. Even when it's Alec Marsh striking out 11 batters. 11. And 60% of his pitches being fastball. He's striking out 11 guys with his fastball. And a slider that's been reworked in the break. Talking about tinkering with a slider. Now all of a sudden it's got vertical and horizontal break. It's got more vertical break. It had minimal horizontal break. And now it's got that going too. Minimal, if at all, horizontal break. Vertical was good. But it's got more vertical break, so it's got more 12-6, the slider. And now it's got the break right to left, so now it's looking, 2-8, more than a 1-7. So yeah, there's some encouraging signs. Hopefully, I'm holding on to straws as they're hopefully not sliding away.
In the most important baseball news of the day, according to Wikipedia, there have never been multiple cycles completed in a single MLB game. Although perhaps twice in minor league baseball. I'm not even seeing there being an instance of two players on opposite teams in the same game. Twice in MLB history, 2 players have hit for the cycle on the same day. But that, 2 different games going on the same day. So, but the Royals were halfway, maybe a quarter of the way to doing something that had never been done before. Because 2 guys got halfway. So if Witt would have gotten it, they would have gotten maybe 3/4 of the way because Waters got halfway. Maybe more than halfway because they got the hard part done.
But then you got to carry the 1.
Oh, I always forget to carry the 1.
Divide by the remainder.
Maybe the roads would be 500 if they carried the 1.
To what power do we go to?
Any power would be good. Fountain power is ideal. That was really neat.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where the stadium is. That I didn't carry that either.
Yeah, wind, sun, solar, all of that stuff. Yeah, there's some solar power.
Longitude and latitude. Jorge Soler again. Did he ever hit hold on. Did Jorge Soler ever hit 2 cycles in one game? No, it doesn't look like he did. Darn.
He went 8 for 8 with 2 home runs, 2
crazy.
triples, 2 doubles, 2 singles.
Actually,
has that ever happened before?
It's never happened before.
Okay.
I've looked into it. It's never happened before.
I wonder if somebody's hit 2 grand slams in one inning. God, that'd be cool.
That would be pretty cool.
What if they had a kid that played in Major League Baseball too? I'll tell you this, that kid wouldn't be better than what Bobby Witt's done these last 46 games.
No shot. Impossible.
Damn it, he would. What are the odds of that? I want to get a Learn Funniest Best. I won't be here for the final hour of the show. It'll be you and Mick. But I'll do.
What?
I'll do. Sorry, I meant to tell you that earlier.
Oh, man, I got to plan something.
Sorry about that.
Oh, God.
I want to do a brief what my Learn Funniest Best was from the weekend. We'll do that next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcast.
I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You know, coming up in the 1 o'clock hour when Josh and Mick and Drake go through their Learn Funniest Best, it'll be presented by Pyramid Roofing. For a free estimate, give them a call, 816-966-1101, or check them out, pyramidroofingkc.com. Since I will not be here in the 1 o'clock hour, I'm going to go ahead and give you my Learned Funniest and Best from the weekend that was.
That's great. I might use them myself next hour, since I'll have learned them now.
I didn't know if I was going to be doing this, so some of them I gave away when I was talking about what took place on the course. Like, one of my learned was about the, Mahomes, the superstar, Kelsey, the one that draws people in.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes is the superstar that people are just watching in awe of. Kelsey is the one that people want to be around and just want to be close to and hang with and party with. And he's the one embracing all that too, while Mahomes is sort of going hole to hole and green to the next, hole to tee off. And Kelsey's sort of just taking it all in and taking pictures and high-fiving people as he's going by and things like that. And also that the number of people on the golf course that think by yelling something they're going to be really funny. And we know about thinking something's funny.
Exactly.
Like, at least thinking that, or thinking somebody is funny.
Sometimes you got to at least vary up the volume, though.
That's right.
Golf hecklers.
We can smell our own. So that was part of my learned from the weekend, and I don't like octopus. I learned that as well.
Unless you tried it. I mean,
I did.
That's something Mick wouldn't do.
Never again. Yeah. Never again. My funniest, though, was... So I tweeted out the video of Mahomes making the shot on 17 where he did like the fadeaway, throwing it like a football.
The basketball shot, not a golf shot.
That's right. Yes, the basketball shot on 17 where he makes it and Canelo looks at him with just in awe of what Mahomes did. And I tweeted out, with the caption of, "What can't he do?" Mm-hmm. And I liked the responses. Some people that actually were weighing in on what can't he do. Some of them were beat Joe Burrow in the regular season, beat Brady in the playoffs, fake an injury, keep his brother out of the news, lose to the Broncos.
Yeah, that was funny.
Throw a softball into a milk can.
I was going to say beat Brittany at that one softball throwing into a milk can game.
That's right. Throw a softball into a milk can.
It's the first time I've ever seen him lose at a competition.
This one's odd. Out of all the teams that are mad about officiating, this one said, beat the Browns without help from the refs.
Oh, beating the Browns without hope. Wow, that
was an odd one.
That's so long ago.
To hear, like, if it was a Bengals fan or an Eagles fan or something like that win a real ring. Mm-hmm. It was the Super Bowl ref champions is what the Chiefs were this year. But beat the Browns without help from the refs?
Huh.
When did they need... Are they talking about divisional round when Dan Sorensen was not called for the unnecessary roughness and when it was the helmet-to-helmet at the goal line and the dude for the Browns fumbled out of the end zone and they then the Chiefs got the ball instead of the Browns, scoring a touchdown, all of that stuff?
Man, that's a long time to hold that grudge if that's what they're talking about. Holy cow.
It's the only thing I can think of with the refs and people complaining about that. And there are plenty of other things to complain about with the refs, and the Chiefs, clearly the NFL had this thing rigged for the Chiefs to win, just as they had the Bengals rigged to win in Arrowhead 2 years ago. Everybody knows this. But my favorite one was a few responses that were the same, which is just talk normal. What can't he do? Talk normal. That's right.
That one's fine, so you can wear that one.
Yeah, he can't. Okay. That is true. That is true. He does have that. And then my best was, it's an obvious one. Patrick Mahomes retweeted me.
Got to be that.
That's an easy best from the weekend.
I got that push notification. I was like, oh, yes, it's happening.
I mean, come on, man. I took a screenshot of that and sent it to my wife. It's like, show Everett. Now he's really going to think I'm his hero.
Yes. Hey, finally.
Yeah, he never did anyway.
My son's going to respect me.
Thank God.
Patrick Mahomes retweeted Daddy.
We go and play catch all the time. I throw batting practice to him. We go and shoot around with the little basketball, and I'm his rebounder, and I'm helping him do all that stuff. No. Patrick Mahomes retweeted you? You're so cool.
You really are the second coolest dad in the world. Patrick Mahomes is still number one, but
of course he is.
I mean, top 2's pretty good.
Of course he's the coolest. You ever think about like when
you're like the Joe Burrow of dads?
That's awesome. Yeah, but my family thinks I'm better than him anyway. Yeah. So, people around me find ways to show that I'm actually better than Patrick at daddying.
You take pictures with Steelers fans.
That's exactly right. Steelers kids. Take pictures with Steelers kids. Yeah, that's right. You ever think, like, I was watching the quarterback series finishing up. A lot of people were. I know you haven't done that yet. But when when he's holding bronze and like he's hanging out with Sterling, you ever think like they have no idea that they are Patrick Mahomes' daughter and you're Patrick Mahomes' son? Like, the life you're going to live.
Yeah.
Now, some of it might be, oh, yeah, but I'm always going to be Patrick Mahomes' son. Yeah,
Correct.
There are worse things to be in the world, man.
Pros and cons to all of that.
But just like, I don't know, I'm just watching, I'm like, man, that kid's eventually going to find out one day. Right now, he's just all caring about eating, pooping, and sleeping.
Yep.
Like, that's all that that kid really cares about. But one day he'll have a better idea of that, man. But yeah, so the Joe Burrow of dads. I think I'll take it.
I think you should. I think that's actually a compliment.
I'm good with that.
He hasn't won the big one yet, but he's gotten really close to Dad of the Year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think that's a fully healthy goal to set.
Tier 1 dad.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, you're a tier 1 dad.
I'll absolutely take that.
It's not the Patrick Mahomes of being a dad, because that's Patrick Mahomes.
That's right.
There's no shame in that.
That's right. Pyramid Roofing. Give them a call for a free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com.
Do you think you'll print out maybe a giant version of the Mahomes retweet of your tweet so you can hang it up somewhere? Put that in the rafters?
No, just hang it in Everett's room.
Good. No, that's smart.
Constant reminder.
Yes.
Anytime you want to backtalk me, son, or you think you're cooler or better, look at that wall. Let me check your Twitter account, son.
Yeah.
You ever been retweeted by Pat? Oh, you haven't? Oh, we don't have a Twitter account. Yeah, I know. Get on my level, son.
Yeah. You know who does? You know who's had a Twitter account? Who's the dog days of Twitter? This guy. It paid off.
Son.
That's why I lift all those Twitter weights.
That's right. All right, I believe Mick Schaefer's coming up next with Josh. He's got it the rest of the way today. We'll talk to you as the week continues.
Let's ride.
Rest is a big deal, especially when it comes to your health. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're a man suffering with erectile dysfunction, low testosterone,
This SportsCenter is brought to you by the University of St. Mary. The University of St. Mary Online offers convenient programs at an accelerated pace. Learn more during a virtual info session on August 3rd. Register at stmary.edu/RSVP. The Royals played 3 games in 2 days this weekend, dropping the first 2 of the series on Saturday in a doubleheader. Alec Marsh struck out 11 and gave up 2 earned runs in 6 innings, but the offense couldn't find the juice in a 6-1 loss. Then Cole Reagans, in the second loss, he was great. Gave up 1 earned in 5 innings, but the Royals fell 4-2. It finally all came together on Sunday as the Royals got Rays starter Zach Eflin out after 3 innings in an 8-4 win, highlighted by 7 scoreless innings from Brady Singer and a 4-run 8th that didn't derail the start after home runs from MJ Melendez, Bobby Witt Jr., and Drew Waters. The record is 27-67. We'll talk more Royals, some quarterback, and much more with Mick Schaefer at KSHP 41 next in The Zone. Jason really left. He's just gone. Just disappeared. Decided we were good from here.
Thought he was joking. All of my notes for today and the preparation I did was for a 3-man booth.
Okay.
A 2.
Well,
it was for a 4.
4 because we got Drake. He's over there. We could, I think intern Dylan's back there. If we just another kind of voice
just a warm body in here. I don't say much. I just kind of I need that feel. The vibe of a 4-man booth.
We need someone in this chair. I can go get a seat filler.
That'd be great.
Drake, if you want to just pick somebody, whoever from sales who you think does the least work, I think just go ahead and grab them and pop them in here.
That's going to be a race down to the wire, isn't it?
I think make some tough calls. Drake has left the chair and has not returned yet, so I feel like there's
going to get somebody.
Something to happen here. I don't know if he's. I have a guess, actually. I'm gonna whisper here. I bet he's coming back with a mannequin from Lebo's office. This is my yes.
Yeah, here it is.
Yes, nailed it. Got it in one.
Oh, that's
This is
missing some pants.
This is
with the Barbie coming out this weekend. It kind of smacks of that. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it does. The armlessness of the Venus de Milo,
pantsless, armless.
But wearing an 810,
kind of genderless. No, it's not genderless. Sorry, I see something.
There's definitely some.
I see something.
Yeah, it all depends on the level of wardrobe that it has, and it more or less lives in Lebo's office.
This is
clothed enough.
This is better.
It's not a warm
I feel better
body
now.
but there's a silhouette now.
Yeah,
with vaguely humanoid features.
He positioned it to where it's kind of looking at me, so I appreciate it.
Does it feel like you're being listened to? Would you like to film maybe like the TV studio with a bunch of mannequins looking at you, like a live studio audience, but they'll keep their mouth shut?
I've always wanted an actual live studio audience because it's you want some reaction to like your little one-liners during the Royals highlights and stuff like that. I feel like we could make some money on it. $5 a head, get about 20 people in there a night, $100 a show. Shoot, we do 7.5 hours of news programming a day. We could turn a profit on this.
I feel like this is a great idea that you are prepared to have someone else do the legwork for.
Well, I'm sure it violates some sort of journalistic code, whatever that is.
Break. Certainly not in sports. It doesn't.
No.
I mean, what?
Oh, I have music running underneath my highlights. I mean, I've jumped off that journalism boat long ago.
You're not trying to solve a cold case.
I'm not out there searching for truth. I'm just searching for some Bobby Witt highlights and maybe a good Chiefs Vosot.
Have you at any point been searching for Dude Perfect tickets?
Are they coming?
They are. Oh, they're going to be here on Thursday, July 27th.
I like those guys. They're pretty genuine. They're down-to-earth guys. My kids used to watch all their videos. And I'm always enamored by, how many takes does it take?
Absolutely. Love a trick shot.
And so I'm really enamored by, how do you do a live show when a lot of times it takes 1,000 shots at that basketball goal from 10 stories high? And what kind of tricks are they doing?
I have wondered this myself.
They're probably they do a lot of competitions.
There are competitions, there are games, and there's
the one guy wins every time.
I don't know how the live show comes together for them. I have wondered myself. I have been interested myself. And if you've been wondering, or maybe you've got those tickets lined up in your car, but you haven't hit buy just yet, we're going to send 2 people to Dude Perfect right now. How about that trick shot? How about that? Called shot,
being the
one
mannequin,
shot.
Or it's got to be somebody outside of this room?
If you want to call, not yet. If you want to call 913-381-0810 here in just a minute, you can take the mannequin with you, I think. I don't know that T-Mobile Center has mannequin-based guidelines.
I mean, this is, I'm sure, a movie you never saw, but Drake did. It's one of those movies, like, if you made now, people would be like, wait, what? There's a movie called Mannequin. Andrew McCartney
I know of this movie.
Fell in love with the mannequin.
Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall was the smoking hot mannequin. He was the only one that could see her alive, or most likely she was a mannequin the whole time, and he was just going through some sort of episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe there was a sequel.
Was there? With the same
I think
people?
So. I think Mannequin too, yeah.
Yeah, it was called One Mannequin.
They got all the way to 5 movies, and they made Mannequin.
I can't imagine that there's a third spin on that, so I'm just going to let Nick have the point there and tell you that you can listen all week to The Zone for your chance to win tickets to Dude Perfect, the Pandemonium Tour 2023, live at T-Mobile Center here on Thursday, July 27th. They've got brand new battles, unbelievable, cool, not cool items that will blow your mind, and tons more. They'll be at the T-Mobile Center Thursday, July 27th. You don't want to miss it. If you listen to this week, all week to The Zone, we're going to give away a bunch of tickets, at least a pair every day here in The Zone, to the Dude Perfect Pandemonium Tour. We're going to give away a pair right now. 913-381-0810.
And their mascot is a panda, so that's why it's called the Pandemonium Tour.
It's beautiful, top to bottom, and you can go. Caller number 8 right now, 913-381-0810. Caller number 8, and then you have to make a basketball shot off the roof of your house, through your basketball hoop, into a kiddie pool, off of a wall, off your kid's forehead, into a smaller Fisher-Price hoop, and then you win the tickets. Or just be caller number 8, which I think Drake has right now.
One of the most amazing ones, they would often have like the Guinness Book of World Records guy come and like sign off that they actually did it, which I've never heard of a Guinness guy showing up anywhere, a la Arrowhead and in Seattle, and not saying that you got the world record. I feel like if you pay the money, they're like, yeah, no, you got there.
You get close enough.
One of those guys, it was a blindfolded, like behind the back, 3/4 court shot. Good Lord. He got it in the first try.
No kidding.
And he's like, he didn't believe it because he knew they were going to mess with him.
Yeah,
like,
we
made it. And they actually went back and showed the camera shot of him make it on the first try.
I don't know. I do like a trick shot, and now there's a whole other like genre and TikTok or Instagram Reels or whatever of like the one that is throwing playing cards into like the spinning card protector,
or you throw DVDs into a spinning like little video game console.
Yes, all of those look incredibly impressive. I really enjoy the 5 seconds I have to watch them.
Not the 5 days it took to hit it.
I don't know what my legit patience level would be. I think...
You know what I would give up? I would give up, a couple hours in when I am, that far away. And then I realize, that's going to take me another few hours or more just to get that far away again and just burn the edge.
I think... Regardless of what the actual goal is, whatever the actual setup is, I think the first time I have to clean up my missed shots, I think that's when I'm done. I think I can throw 52 cards and then pick them all up once and say I've had enough. Yeah. Or whatever my sleeve of ping pong balls are.
As I say, you go to the store, what's your budget?
Sure.
I'd buy like 10,000 ping pong balls.
Yeah,
if I could, because I don't want to get up like you and corral them.
No, it's not. It's simply not worth doing. But that's what Dude Perfect has done to this point to become a internationally known traveling act that's going to fill up T-Mobile Center, which is also crazy to think about. That they went from the YouTube era of trick shots to we'll take T-Mobile, we'll go and fill that thing out. We got a show for you.
All Texas A&M dudes. I think one of them played baseball there. Yeah,
that makes sense. How much at quarterback have you got? Are you done with the whole thing? I can't remember where you were at on Wednesday.
Yeah, I finished it yesterday.
Renee and I have got through 6 episodes of it, and I say Renee and I because the first episode I was like, it was that first night had been out the whole day. I was like, hey, we're gonna talk about this tomorrow. I gotta watch the first episode. I can go watch it by myself. You can watch it here together. You can half watch whatever. But she loves a true crime show. She loves a documentary series. If it's about a cult, a murder, Ashley Madison, whatever. Yep. It doesn't matter.
I'm against murder, but it's produced.
It's good content.
Great content.
It's great. Murder makes good content. We just, not being for.
How about
murder.
that for my political?
That's bold
campaign. I am anti-murder.
Anti-murder. Enjoy murder content. So, they're never going to get rid of all the murder. There's always going to be murder content. They even go back to old murders to solve those. Those aren't new murders. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think we need any new murders, and we still have years and years of murder content.
Plenty of unsolved ones. But Renee loves all of that, and what she ended up realizing by like a few scenes into episode 1 that has maintained being true all the way through the 6 we've gotten through now is, one, she loves Kirk Cousins.
Everybody loves Kirk Cousins, and they should. He's great.
They should. I do. I'm a convert. I didn't see it coming, though. I want to talk about Kirk Cousins with you at some point. But also, we got to the end of episode 5 last night, and she was like, well, if... we could watch another one if you want. If you need to watch, you want to watch another one for tomorrow, probably we should watch one. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Renee has been in because what she has figured out is that if the music, if the soundtrack can properly dictate to her what is happening in the game, she knows what. Now she knows. All right, this is bad or good, or something's bad about to happen.
Some bad plays about to happen.
Marcus Mariota did the interception that he threw falling to the ground, and it started with some really sad-sounding music.
Hit down first,
I also thought he was down. I could not remember if they reviewed that or not.
It looked like a player caused him to go down. He didn't trip on his own, so he should have been down.
Watching it live, I thought about Googling it to see, did that get overturned in real time? And they just didn't, because it definitely looked like it should have been a sack, but whatever. But at that point, she was like, sounds like something bad's about to happen. I was like, Renee, I think the rest of this is going to be bad for Marcus Mariota.
I forgot that he, spoiler, quit?
Yeah, got the elective surgery thing after they benched him, and I don't know if we're going to...
can't do that in January?
Get more than...
Wait a month?
Right, and I mean, that was super interesting.
Maybe just, you're a leader, be a team player, and just... stick through it when you're the second string.
But I don't. Do they go into any more of that after the shooting of his knee surgery, rehab, and everything?
Not much. He just kind of disappears. The last basically 2 episodes are almost all Mahomes sprinkled in with a little Kirk Cousins,
and that's fine with me because that was I understood why Mariota was a part of it. This idea of having the 3 quarterbacks at 3 different levels or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the idea. I guessed at that, or if those were just the guys that jumped at the opportunity.
Maybe so. But Mariota ultimately did not add a lot in terms of great television. He was just another quarterback to look at.
Not great personality.
Yeah. So how did you process all of it as a TV man and a TV enthusiast? How do you zoom out and give? How do you fill out Netflix's report card on this as
the
kind
only
of an experiment?
time I stood up and pointed and got mad was after the Super Bowl. I saw Sam McDowell getting to walk with Patrick Mahomes down the hallway near the alumni. How does he get that access? McDowell, are you kidding me? It's BS.
That is BS.
So you'll see it. It's coming up.
I can't wait. I've enjoyed the media cameos that I'm just pointing out to Renee.
I never saw you nor me.
No,
here.
I'm not in there. But I'm just doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme of
I know.
That's Karen. I hear Karen. But yeah, what did you think? As an entertainment product, not even all of the nuts and bolts of Mahomes, but as a series, where do you put it in the hierarchy?
Well, I mean, I loved it, and I wondered if it was just because I live in Kansas City, very close to it. I know all Chiefs fans are going to love it. I think all Vikings fans are going to love it. If there are any Falcon fans left out there, like a la Aaron Ladd, I don't know how they feel about that. So, but I wonder, okay, fans of the other 29 teams, are they as into it?
Yeah,
I think I would be if it was Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray. I think I would be. And I mean, I watch Hard Knocks every year. It definitely would not be as compelling to me. And look, I mean, Manning and those guys knocked it out of the park by catching the Super Bowl champion.
Yes.
That year, are you kidding me? They catch the Super Bowl winner in year 1. Good luck. Good luck trying to catch that each year if you're going to do 3 different dudes every year, which I think they probably will. And so I loved it. I loved it. I love the on the field stuff, but I feel like I thought it was going to be way more stuff off the field and very small little tidbits. My son and I were laughing when they. I don't know if you got there yet. Where are you at with the Chiefs season? Has he finished the regular season?
Yeah, the Jags game is next. That's what they've teased, the ankle injury and all of that.
Well, so the end of your last episode, they had this happy, fun time. We're winning music with Mahomes through all these games in December. My son and I are like, those were close games.
Yes, absolutely.
Houston went to overtime. They had 1 win. Why are we snapping our fingers and just everything's rainbows and unicorns? What's going on here? That Broncos game was close.
And then I asked Jason earlier, do you remember who the quarterback was in the Rams game? They won that by Blake, 16 or whatever.
What's his name? Blake, BL something.
Not quite. B is right. It's before it ended up being Baker Mayfield. It was a B though. It was not John Wofford, who I think was hurt. It was not Matt Stafford.
I
who was
remember
hurt.
the guy. I remember it's that every year there's a couple games that just I get lost.
Yes.
I forget they ever happen.
Yes, me too.
And the
Happens all
Rams
the time.
game is one. I couldn't tell you how that game went at all.
You have forgotten the Bryce Perkins experience.
Yes. Yep.
And that was one of the funny things in that episode was that was the game I had just gone. Just poof. I
remember
forgot
the
they played the Rams
game really either. I don't know.
I remember
what happened that weekend for me personally.
AFC South games always give me stress, so I know that's I'm sure it was a stressful game. But that Rams game was the game they show that pick in the end zone that was just bad, and then the offense stalls out in the red zone over and over. So they go through all of the trials and tribulations of that, but that was a game that they were like dominating in.
It's like 27-10 or
something like that. Yeah, it was a I think a 16-point win. I think it was 26 to 10.
Yeah.
But again, the offense stalls and all that. So finding the points that they gloss over and the stuff they include has been very interesting.
Yeah, there was one. What was it? Was it the Bengals game where, or maybe it's the Jags game where he just fumbles the ball right? It was after he's hurt.
Yeah.
He just drops it, and they didn't show that. But they showed plenty of downs compared to ups of Mahomes.
Yeah,
it wasn't all just this. Celebration of Mahomes' season, but look, he was the MVP. They caught quite possibly the greatest season ever by a quarterback.
Yeah,
Super Bowl MVP, regular season MVP, Super Bowl winner. Most yards ever passing? Now they have the extra game, but okay, most yards passing.
And the Cousins part of it is funny to me because Mahomes is clearly. He's the movie star. He's the superstar of the series. But I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's just because of the age I was when this movie came out. Forever in my mind, the character sort of pigeonholing that comes from any franchise that has a main character and a beloved side character for me will always be Monsters Inc. Because Sully is the main character of Monsters Inc. But Mike Wazowski is everybody's favorite, right? I think Kirk Cousins kind of Mike Wazowski, Patrick Mahomes a little bit.
Well, I would say Mahomes is more Wazowski with his mouth, right?
For sure, that's definitely true.
Sully, the lovable guy, is more like Kirk Cousins.
Personality-wise, I think that's true. Yeah. I think that's a good point. But the branding, Mike Wazowski got the sticker put over him on the magazine in Monsters Inc. The logo covered him on the commercial.
And Max Crosby's the bad guy lizard.
He's Randall. Yes. Absolutely, he's Randall. But Kirk Cousins has been getting the sticker put over him for years. And now all of a sudden everybody's kind of like, hey. And I think I know what it is for me. I want to know what it is for you that made you go from knowing what you knew about Kirk Cousins as just sort of this milquetoast average quarterback that then you see in this show and you go, you know what? I kind of like this Kirk Cousins fella. Why do you think that he was able to bring you over to Captain Kirk's side?
A lot of reasons. His wife was great. Big fan. And I love self-deprecation. Right, it's endearing. Right, you make fun of yourself before others can, and people just let their guard down. And he's like that. I love that he had his man cave, right, is in this hidden room.
It's hidden behind a bookcase.
And he doesn't want to, talk about himself and show off and all that stuff. And I loved it. And you show how dedicated he was, except on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Got to that part.
That was interesting.
He didn't do Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And the balance of life, and he's just this everyman. And he looked like, you saw a house, you'd be like, okay, looks like a very successful mortgage guy, right? Just banking or whatever.
Yes.
Not that he.
Hey, that's a nice house.
Fully guaranteed contract, right, or something like that in the NFL as a quarterback. And so I appreciate that. His teammates seemed to love him and really rally around him. So there were many things for me that endeared Kirk Cousins. And look, that's 8 episodes. Like any sort of interview, one off. You can always fake it and try to come across as the great guy. There was no faking anything there. He was genuine. That was him the whole time.
That to me is the part that is the common thread through every other little thing that you touched on there. The through line is that, and it's also not to get super pop psychology, but if we do ever get to see cameras around Russell Wilson anytime soon,
oh boy,
the thing that makes Russell Wilson just kind of stink a little bit is the exact reason that Kirk Cousins came off so likable to me, which is the genuineness of it. Kirk Cousins, if we found out in 5 years that Kirk Cousins was living some secret double life this whole time, no one on planet Earth would shock me more because he was followed by Netflix cameras for one season, and it's always just that kind of, you're right, the self-deprecating kind of ho-hum. My wife dresses me, and sometimes that's a Viking print blazer, and sometimes it's a Patagonia plaid because it was a warm day and she thought it'd be comfy. But like all of that, the hidden room, and he's not hiding his game balls because he wants to seem humble, because he also talks about how proud he is of those achievements. Like you do get to see him be a little bit, give a little pushback to the one we just watched, was I think it was the most recent one we watched, was the primetime thing, right? He says, well, I got these Sunday Night Football game balls up
pretty
here.
Sure some of these were played at night.
Pretty sure you played like terrible at night. You wouldn't get these. Like, I kind of enjoyed that from him, because that's how you would think a normal person would probably respond to some of those things. And he came off completely earnestly, which I actually think all three of the guys have, but with different tones and different end results. Mahomes comes off completely honest and unfiltered and like a crazy person on the field, which I have also loved. But Cousins was the surprise.
I didn't realize. I always thought he was the side of like always, because we've seen that, and he giving other players compliments, right? Over the top, man. I knew about the Max Crosby stuff. I didn't hear all the stuff that was said there, and then that's kind of a regular thing. He'll talk it.
I'm here. You got to hit me. Woke up the wrong mother bleeper.
Yeah.
That being as relentless as it is surprising.
He's the one guy on the field with the microphone. Every other player on the field pretty much is saying that kind of stuff or more out there.
I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited to watch the last two. I will watch. I didn't follow through what the entire timeline is on the Kyler Murray thing. Adam Schefter tweeted about there being some sort of Kyler Murray Netflix project, but part of the reason also that Hard Knocks is kind of hit and miss for me.
This year?
That's just to get him on the field this year would be step one, I guess. Hard Knocks kind of hit and miss, and I don't think Hard Knocks would work for Renee. I don't think she would sit down and watch a season of the Jets, even them being chaotic and a mess. I think there's something about narrowing it down to like your three main characters, and you learn their support systems, and it's that position. That's another thing that I just think it's done really well, especially for someone like Renee who doesn't watch like the mic'd ups or the NFL film stuff that I've been watching since I was 8, They make playing quarterback look really hard. It is the play calls and the mental reps, and poor Kirk Cousins mic'd up just like 10 times. Just,
oh, man, that sounded so painful.
It will do more for a lot of people like Renee to put a proper context into what it takes to physically play that position than any CBS broadcast.
There were some things about that kind of surprised me. I'm like, wait, Mahomes is driving home himself after these games?
Yeah.
And so you haven't seen the end of the Vikings season then yet, right?
No, I have not.
We all know they lost the playoffs, so I'm not giving anything away. The funniest line of the whole deal is, and it's a perfect kind of microcosm, I guess, for the whole story about Kirk Cousins and Julie Cousins, is they're driving the whole way home talking about that loss to the Giants, and they're just trying to put it in perspective. He's frustrated. She's trying to, calm him down. Not that he's mad, but she's trying to make everything better. And they pull up in their driveway. They're talking about the game. He's this franchise quarterback. They just got done playing in the playoffs on prime time. They pull up. She's like, "Oh, I forgot it's trash night." And it was the last time. I'm so glad they left that in there, because it was the perfect representation of those two worlds. Like, he has two worlds, and then it's almost like he crosses a line. And I'm just back to be a family man here. Oh, I forgot it was trash night. And then he goes upstairs and he reads to his kids and he says prayers, and they go to bed.
It is a really fascinating peek into a really fascinating life, and a few fascinating lives, but I've enjoyed the Kirk Cousins experience, and that's the first time I've ever said that phrase on radio. So it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
Probably a first for all of us. Jason did his LFBs earlier. I didn't even know you were allowed to do that.
That violates the rules.
It certainly violates my trust. That feels like it's going to take some time for us to work through. But as long as you don't mind just the three of us kind of LFBing it up, even though Jason tried to spoil it earlier.
Got an L, an F, and a B.
I've got all three also, so as long as Drake's ready to go.
Wait this time.
He's always premature in so many things.
Yeah, we also will have time to get through all of them today, which will be a nice change of pace.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook.
Every once in a while, we learn something. Pretty often, something's funny. We all had a weekend. Hopefully, there was something that was the best from it. It's time for Learn Funniest Best here in the Zone. Jason Anderson's already out and about. It'll be us flying without him tomorrow. He'll be back on Wednesday. Mick Schaefer, KSHP 41, is here. The Drake On the other side of the glass, I'm Joshua Brisco. Ready for a little LFB, Drake?
Yeah, brought to you by Pyramid Roofing. Absolutely.
Mick, how you feeling? You feel like you've got a good trio of presentations today?
Above average trio, I think, here today, Josh.
I can't remember what order these ever go in, so I'm going to tell you what I learned first. It's like Jason never left. I've got some baseball stats for you, but I think you're going to care about the players who they are attached to. Hector Gomez tweeted this out. In his first 674 career games, Babe Ruth hit 159 home runs. In his first 674 career games, Shohei Ohtani hit 160. In his first 455 career innings pitched, Babe Ruth was 35 and 18. In his first 455 innings pitched, Shohei Ohtani, 35 and 19. So home runs and win-loss records as a pitcher, Shohei Ohtani and Babe Ruth are in absolute lockstep, and I just like a Shohei Ohtani stat. So that's what I learned. Mick, what'd you learn? Do you go next? Does Drake go next? You go next, probably, right?
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter to me. What'd you learn?
JQ to tweet about you've been 500 ever since 2018. There's 3 teams. One's the Angels. Do you have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani? No,
we're good. Yes, you're the Angels.
The Angels.
They've squandered them.
I learned that Kirk Cousins' Pee Wee football coach was Mike Singletary.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
What?
How's that come together?
How does that come together?
Apparently, he lived in Chicago when he was 10 years old for a spell, and he was Mike Singletary was his assistant coach. You ever seen the movie Kicking and Screaming? That's what made me remind me.
I have, actually.
It's Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
And he basically hires Mike Ditka to be his youth soccer coach to get his troops.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep in the brain.
So maybe that did apparently happened in real life. So that's really cool.
I don't know what that would do to a child.
Did we know it was Mike's son on that team, or was he just randomly coaching other boys?
I have no idea. I saw that in the show. I went, what? And then I didn't Google it again until just now. I completely forgot about it. So
that's what I learned.
I learned it too, but not as much as Mick did. Jake?
I learned about a player drafted into the NHL. I guess their draft was also fairly recently. Yeah. The Philadelphia Flyers have drafted a young man by the name of Oliver Bonk, B-O-N-K, which I enjoy very much.
Name.
Evidently, his father, which I'm going to get wrong, but his father's name was Radek Bonk, who also played in the NHL. But Bonk is just a fantastic name. It can... it's one of those words. It was onomatopoeia.
It's
that
definitely
sounds like
onomatopoeia,
something, and it also sounds mildly dirty, and it's just a great name, Oliver Bonk.
I think I can make a bonk sound with this bottle I've got. I'm gonna just hit myself in that. I'm gonna bonk myself.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And he's in the NHL now. I learned that.
It wasn't quite as satisfying a bonk noise I want it to be. Some more of a thud. I don't know. I got a thick head.
They had, I'm trying to find it. They came out with this year's college football all-name team.
Yes, I saw that.
It is better than usual.
Yeah, it's really good.
It is pretty awesome. Of course, it's led by General Booty, the quarterback. Here they are. You want to know some?
Yes, I'd love that. Is this your funniest? This is extra funniest.
We're just a bonus.
funniest.
We're playing off of Drake's.
Yeah.
There. DeColdis Crawford.
Dude, that one's he's the one with the AC deal, I think. ACNIL deal.
It is. And then there's a tight end named Rowdy Beers.
Love Rowdy Beers.
Memorable Factor.
Wow.
Where's he? Pig. I'll find you. Pig Cage and Dude Person. I love Dude Person.
Dude Person.
Pig Cage plays at UTSA. Another D-back from Louisville, Storm Duck. An LSU D-back, Major Burns.
That's tough, actually.
One of these I can't say.
Really? It's just a name?
Yep. Well, it may be pronounced a little different. I don't know if I can spell it, but just
no,
won't.
That's all right.
There's Octavius Oxendine.
Ooh,
these sound like the Key and Peele skit.
Dr. Ock. He can be Doc Ock, that guy. Octo, whatever his name was.
There's some great ones. Derealist Clark.
So good.
Fat Watts.
Is Fat Watts a lineman? D lineman, maybe? DT? I want Fat Watts to be a
there's
DT.
a tight end at Air Force named Rocky Beers. I'm guessing Rowdy and Rocky Beers are brothers because one's at FIU.
The Beer Brothers.
There are some great names. Even the honorable mention names are amazing. But yeah, my funniest from the weekend, we had our guys' trip down to the lake. Guys from my hometown. It's a great time each and every year. And there's some ornery Henri Punk's still in it, even though we're in our late 40s. And, me, so my mid. And I woke up one night. We were sleeping down in the basement. I wake up, and two of my buddies are next to another buddy's bed. And I can tell they're up to something. And they're like, shh. I look, and they're pouring chips all over him. And I'm like, that is a funny prank right there. And I close my eyes, I roll over, and I roll over a whole another bag of chips that had been laid up right behind me where my back was going to be. And I turn the other way. There's chips in front of me. There's chips on my shoulder. Yeah, so that was I was mad at the time. Then afterward, it became funny.
That's good that they gave you a chip on your shoulder. It's probably motivational.
A little chip.
It really was. Drake, what was your funniest?
I'm kind of amused by the the film industry. They're desperate for a franchise, so I thought this was a joke, but they are honestly getting ready to make it. Has a release date next year. The Passion of the Christ 2.
No, it's happening?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes.
We joked about this years ago.
That's happening.
This was on.
Is this like Titanic too?
Yes. Almost. Be careful, everybody. Almost entirely sports. ESPN Kansas City days. I remember Beards and I, we went through all the way through. That might have been. We might have done that as an old sports night bit of oh cool, Passion of the Christ 2, Electric Boogaloo, awesome. That'll be a really fun one. It's still Passion of the Christ 2, still passioning. Wow.
Where'd that one leave off? The first one. Did he come back?
I cannot remember. Back and better than ever. I don't know.
Jim Caviezel will probably be the star if he hasn't aged too much.
I think so. I mean, it depends on what the storyline is. I guess.
How far down
right?
the road do we go?
How old is Jesus here? Is he 2,000? Because if so, we're gonna have to age Jim Caviezel up. That is shocking, Drake. My funniest was I mentioned on the show earlier. I'll tell you this so you can just go ahead and pocket this one for the TV broadcast, Mick. Do you know which member of the Tennessee Titans had the most career touchdown receptions before they signed DeAndre Hopkins?
Mike Vrabel.
Michael Vrabel. He had 12. That was tremendous. But I mentioned that earlier. My actual funniest. Buzz Aldrin yesterday. See this? Posted a picture on Twitter. Posted a photo yesterday of himself enjoying a meal on the 54th anniversary of the launch of Apollo 11. And it was nice. It was nice to see Buzz Aldrin, doing his thing. And he was wearing a watch on his left wrist. And he was wearing a watch on his right wrist. And he was wearing another watch on his left wrist. He was wearing 3 watches just for this casual picture in front of his dinner. I'll show you the footage. The funniest tweet, though, of the entire ordeal came from Daniel Lavery on Twitter. He said, boy, if you had asked me earlier today how many watches Buzz Aldrin usually wears, I would have been confidently mistaken. Because here you'll see. Happy, healthy-looking Buzz Aldrin. Rocking 3, full-on metal watches.
Yeah,
These aren't Apple watches, not a Fitbit.
I thought one might be an Apple Watch.
No.
One's military time, one's Eastern time.
Time zone. Moon time is obviously different. I don't know if there's a story. I don't know if it's just a quirk. I'm not sure why, but it made me very happy to see Buzz Aldrin just out here rocking 3 watches. Somebody said he's on space time. Yeah, that's what it is. That was my funniest. What was your best, Mick? Drake?
Just Evergy and all the cleanup crews. I mean, my gosh, I was so fortunate. I know there are a lot of people still without power. We were out 10 hours, something like that. Wasn't bad at all. And they're working so hard and getting so much done. And I'm amazed how fast they're working. And be careful. We just saw that Jeff Passan.
Yeah.
He tweeted out he was injured. I guess he was working on some of the own cleanup himself, and it sounds like a branch fell. And he has, according to his tweets, suffered a broken back. He is able to walk and move his arms and everything. He hasn't no spinal damage, but he has a broken back.
Wow.
It's spinal. And poor Jeff Passan. I hope he has a speedy recovery. But yeah, my best. The Evergy folks and all these tree crews who are doing amazing work, and the roofers too, because all the brought to you by Pyramid Roofing. Learn funniest best. Lots of crews out there doing great stuff right now, and we need them.
I'll read you what Jeff tweeted out here. He tweeted, "Breaking my back."
Wow.
Sorry I haven't been posting lately. During cleanup after a big storm in KC, a large tree limb decided to fall and crush me. The good news, I still have use of my arms, legs, and Twitter fingers. The bad news, I have a broken back. The vertebrae fracture will heal. I will be better. I'm hoping the pain subsides between now and the trade deadline, though painkiller-fueled tweets could be a fun time. And then he thanks a lot of people, including to my incredible family, friends, and everyone at ESPN who have been so supportive. Thank you for the nurses, doctors, and support staff at KU Med. I appreciate your care and diligence. And to those who are so vital to helping me deliver news of this time of year, especially, my back may be shot, but my phone still works. Wow. So a crazy, scary deal there for Jeff Pass. We certainly wish him the best. I think it's weird, Mick, that you made that your best of the weekend. I think that's kind of a bleeped up thing to do.
Did
but
not make that.
Oh, you didn't. No, you still have your best of the weekend.
It was from the third base tree. Hit him. No, my best of the weekend was my kid finally got a job in high school.
Finally.
Well, he's
Congratulations.
been trying all summer, and now summer's almost over. We're going on vacation next week. As we comes back, we'll have 2 or 3 weeks for his job. But he employed, quote unquote, the strategy of applying for the job 2 weeks into summer, waiting a week, finding out he didn't get it, waiting another week, applying for another job, waiting a week or two, and looking, and just kind of one at a time, just taking his time. And so he finally somebody bit, and they will have him for a few weeks or whatever. I don't know what he's told them about his schedule or his age or his school or not. Who knows? But yeah, that was the best for me.
Wow. Yeah, I think he just sounds like an excellent procrastinator.
He was built for COVID, right? He was built to just be. I'm just gonna be indoors my whole life.
Yeah, I'll just be inside.
Really accelerated things that didn't help in 2020. But yeah, that's him.
Well,
good job.
I'm proud of him and mostly proud of you. My best of the weekend came on Friday night. Renee and I went to go see Asteroid City again. I wanted to see it in theaters again while it was still out, before it all was on digital and everything. So we made a little night out of it, and we went out to the theater, and we had been there for all of 30 seconds. We're walking to grab some food from the concession stand, and a lady walked up to me and she said, "Excuse me, are you Joshua Brisco?"
No way.
And I said, "I sure am. What did I do?" And if I get her name wrong, I will never forgive myself. I heard Diane. Renee heard Diana. Either way, I think I'm gonna say she's a diehard is what she is, because she said, "Oh, I just listen all the time," and you must be wife Renee. He doesn't call you wife Renee. You're just wife now.
Wow.
You are girlfriend Renee and fiance Renee. The entire the entire timeline.
Or had she seen your picture?
I think. Listen, Mick, I'm not gonna make you work for it. I think she must watch Sunday Sound Off. That would be my hunch. Because usually when people recognize me by face out in the world, I usually assume they're a KSHB regular. But she said hi and introduced us to her husband, who was there. And her husband walked over and she went, "Oh God, she listens every day. Not we listen, not I listen. No. She was the engine of the Sports Radio 810 listening party there. So I enjoyed that very, very much, and wanted to extend the shout out for what was the boost my ego needs at least once a month or so. It really gives me a good boost of serotonin. So appreciate
like that.
Appreciate that, and wanted to share that. Thought Jason would get a kick out of it, and then Jason's not here. So, but she didn't say, "Are you Jason Anderson?" And I might have still said yes, actually. I might, if anyone ever does that in the future, I might say yes and see where it ends up. In the meantime, though, I'm happy to be me and enjoyed that interaction very much. Happy to be me, unless I have an opportunity to maybe instead be Kirk Cousins, because apparently he's got it figured out. We'll take a break. There's LFB, a little more zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810.
little more zone left before we hand you over to Sren Petro and the program here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson will be back with us on Wednesday. It'll be me and Drake just figuring it out tomorrow. That's not even true. Me and Dylan Michaels figuring it out tomorrow. Man, we are getting deep down the depth chart. Oh, my God. No
Dog days of July, man.
It's going to be a zone with no Jasons.
No Jasons. No Andersons.
No Andersons either.
For the first time ever.
That's actually probably has been a really long time since the show had no Jasons or no Andersons.
But you have multiple Dylans, I'm told, right?
That's true. We will have multiple Dylans, and we'll make it work. We'll figure out the math because we will have one Joseph up in St. Joseph. Not
I'll
you.
be there.
You're also a Joseph,
I'm
right?
a Joseph.
But not a St. Joseph. Yet, at least. St. Mick.
Joseph will be in St. Joseph tomorrow.
So, Joe, can I call you Joe?
Absolutely.
So, Joe, what are you looking forward to on the drive up? I know it's scenic this time of year. You're going to be up there for the... Is there anything to glean from day one, arrival one? Patrick Mahomes has been busy. I don't know if you've seen this.
I can't wait for it to be over. But then other stuff... other stuff is fine, too. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to have any sort of, like, roll up in a NASCAR or, like, jump out of a helicopter type
No fullbacks
arrivals.
at all now, too. Yeah.
No fullbacks at all now. Who would be? I don't know who would be the liveliest because it's rookies, right? And it's quarterbacks. And I don't think the new guy, Blaine Gabbert's going to be flamboyant or anything.
No, and I think being a rookie that goes too big, that's no good. Felix isn't going to come in on on the back of a Wildcat.
Maybe the receiver, they're always flamboyant. Maybe Rashee Rice. It's got something going on, but again, you're rookie, so you're kind of pushing the envelope there. Here's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Because we found out in Netflix, at least there were plans for Patrick Mahomes to cut his hair.
Yeah.
Before this season.
Oh, wow.
He hasn't done it yet.
Wow.
But is he getting a cut today or tomorrow? Or beforehand?
This would be the time.
Today, right now.
This would be the
today
time.
because he didn't have a cut at the golf tournament this weekend.
No.
But he will be asked about that and all about quarterback and all about the ESPYs and all about the golf tournament in Tahoe and all about the other golf tournament, the match. We haven't talked to him since the ring ceremony, and he's been doing nothing but like jet setting for big events since then. His vacations look exhausting.
He seems so busy all the time.
But his travel is so much different than ours.
Very different. Yes, I think that's probably true.
Give me a car. Okay, here I am at the airport. We're up in the air. We're gone. We're just going to run back here quick for the Taylor Swift concert.
Yep, we'll just dip through.
Luke Combs concert. Just
hop back on again. The common question asked to especially a lot of the first time campers is, well, what have you brought to make camp feel a little more like home? What have you? Everyone brings a mattress topper or a pillow now at this point. That feels like the standard answer, just to take care of your body. Which is, now I'm thinking about it, funny to think about the ways they do that in quarterback. And now it's like, all right, everybody, dorm room, let's go. Let's get those spines aligned. What do you think? What do you think is overrepresented, underrepresented in the camp essentials? Do you have camp essentials for me, for you?
For me, for you.
Yeah, to share with me for yourself.
Yeah.
Your camp essentials.
Got to have a big old box fan, right? Y'all, you never want to get too hot in there.
Smart.
You don't.
Smart.
I'm bringing a gigantic television, just a flat screen.
60 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe mounting it on the wall.
Actually, no, that's average these days.
Really?
60 is average. They don't even sell anything below like 50 hardly anymore.
I thought I was average.
70, 75.
Okay, good.
We're mounting that puppy. Or no, we'll just bring a stand, put it on the dresser.
That'll be good.
And then you got to have your Roku, make sure you got all your streaming services, all that stuff. It's going to be, I'm not a big gamer.
Yeah,
if
I think
you would need to bring the games.
I can get away with a smaller
system.
screen, but with the handheld gaming devices, that's all good. I'm going to bring insulin. Is what I'm going to do.
That's big. You want to survive.
Yeah, I do want to survive it. That one just hit me. That's a pretty big essential for me.
We're packing to go on vacation right now. We're taking Can Jam. I don't think I'd bring Can Jam.
I don't know what Can Jam is.
Can Jam's like this is like 2 cans, and there's a couple Frisbees, and there's a slit in each of the cans,
yeah.
and you try to get the Frisbee in the slit, which I don't think I ever have. But you have a partner.
So
slam
knock it in.
it down on top. You get like 1 point that way. Yeah.
Are you a slam can, jam can, or a slam ball?
I hate spike ball. That's
spike
so
ball.
Stupid.
Spike ball. I've not played any of them.
It's so hard. First of all,
seems hard.
I mean, the guys they have in the commercials are obviously very athletic and they got the game set up. But I mean, it lasts 1 or 2 hits, and that's it. I hate spike ball.
Can Jam,
overrated.
though. I like
Can Jam's good. It's a lot like bags or what that linear games where you're just kind of tossing back and forth.
But it got both people on each team involved. You can kind of play backboard a little bit.
Love it.
I like that a
They
lot.
got the pole with the beer bottle on top. That's a fun game.
Ooh, that's also good. Yeah. Well, Nick, thanks for jamming our cans today.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Nick Schaefer, KSHB 41. We'll do some more Zone tomorrow at 10. In the meantime, the program with Seren Petro. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Till then, bye, Mom.
Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway has Kansas...